Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Westeros. We are coming at you live with episode 10 of A Sea of Spears, a milestone episode right between 11 and 9 that we have arbitrarily decided is a big deal in Western culture. But it is going to be a big deal because we are down to the top 8 in the joust for Princess Myrcella's name day tourney. Tomorrow, and the next day in game, all sorts of tourney stuff's going to draw to a close. We got the melee coming up. Going to be a big old brawl with 49 warriors duking it out for glory and coin. We've got a feast coming up at the Red Keep where House Nymerian will learn what's really dangerous about King's Landing as they once again break bread with the usurper king, Robert Baratheon. We got heartbreak, we got romance, we got all sorts of stuff coming your way here from the tourney ground and streets of King's Landing. And serving it up to you on a silver platter, we've got a crack team of ace actors and voice actors and geeks and industry professionals and totally put together people who would never break their glasses a minute and a half before we go live. So let's start with Erica, who's almost always the most put together of us. Who's your character? What's your character up to? And you decide who we're going to introduce next.
All right, I'm Erica, and I'm playing Bela Nymerian. I am second to the heir, which is my sister, and I'm her twin by just a few moments. And despite that, I'm still pretty accomplished. In fact, I'm a heckin' good fighter, and I am currently still in the tournament. I'm in the top 8 and looking to break into the top 4 in just a little bit today. So that's what I'm up to. It's going to be a big, challenging joust. So with that, I'll pass it to my big sister.
Hi, I'm Felicia, and I play Raina. I am the heir to House Nymerian, and the flip side of the same coin with Bela, where she is dark and swift and deadly. I am light and not so swift, but more deadly, maybe, in a different way. She is much better with a sword and a spear than I am. But we work very well together. And the only thing I've accomplished this week is I won a duel of honor versus a gentleman by the name of Adam Dannett, Lord Adam Dannett, who had accused our house of murder of small folk. And so the king, being Robert, decided that the gods would decide and initiated a challenge by combat. And I did win. And then shortly after, Adam did die. But
Oops.
he wasn't dead at the end of our fight. He was walking.
No, but you did kind of fulfill the prophecy.
We'll see how it works out.
I don't know if that was the only thing that you've accomplished this week, because you've also been riding herd onto the young scions of House Nymerian, which is no mean feat. So there's been some social stuff going on. But yeah, that was the biggest piles of dice that you rolled.
Yeah. That was my big get.
Yeah, that was your big kind of spotlight moment. Who's up next?
I'm gonna go to my brother Luke.
Well, hello. My name is Robert. I'm playing Luke, the oldest son and third oldest child of the house. He is a city boy, having lived in King's Landing for quite some time, and has been somewhat more free than the rest of his siblings, what with not being burdened with expectations. Recently lost in the third round of the tournament, and is looking forward to the melee, although rather bruised at the moment.
All right, who's up next, Robert?
Let's go to the younger brother.
Hi, I'm Ash. I play Adam Nymerian, the youngest sibling of the house. I recently won the archery contest, And apart from that, have been mostly betting on my siblings and the friends of our house to try and amass us more wealth. And totally not getting into any trouble of my own.
Ash says with a diabolical chuckle. And
Well,
who does
yeah.
that leave?
Kevin.
It does, yes.
So,
Hi.
Kevin, how's it going? What's up? Who's your character? What you up to?
Hi, I'm Kevin Zarnicki, whose brain is currently filled with poisonous blood. I'm a game designer and voice actor and about a half a dozen other things, but today I'll be playing Vannon Rivers, bastard of the Riverlands and the Blackwood family, who's been raised by House Nymerian ever so kindly, even while he has nursed a childhood crush on Bela, which he has only just developed the courage to reveal to her, so awkwardly while under the effect of the milk of the poppy. He did win a horse race, and he did get pretty far in the tourneys, but he got his handed to him. So, yeah, now he's just making a preposterous amount of money on betting.
That brings us to the bevy of NPCs swirling around the house that you guys will be running into all stinking episode and, spoiler it, all stinking campaign, because it's the NPCs that make the setting by giving all these players folks to bounce off of, sometimes literally, sometimes figuratively, and all kinds of stuff going on that front. But we have one more character to introduce, and that is right over my head is the Iron Throne. You can help steer the narrative, dear viewers, by cheering and subscribing and liking and all that other made-up Twitch stuff. You will watch the health meter on the Iron Throne go down. Every time the Iron Throne is seized and the stream boss is defeated, you will get a destiny point that you can give to a player character or non-player character of your choice. So it can be your favorite of the young scions of House Nymerian. It can be an allied NPC. It can be whoever they are fighting against. It is all up to you. It can just be like one of your favorite characters from the books or shows. So whoever's around that you feel like helping out, you give them a destiny point, and that's got some powerful in-game benefits. And whoever has the Iron Throne at the very end of the episode has seized it and claimed it and established a dynasty that will last for 14 days. And by having the Iron Throne at the end, you can give a royal boon to the house or nominally the other organization of your choice. Normally it's going to be a noble house, but if somebody was really like, fuck yeah, I love the gold cloaks, or whatever, then you could kind of choose an organization like that. Let's give the royal boon to the Night's Watch. Like, hasn't really come up yet in game, but it's normally going to be a noble house, but some sort of organization is an option. So there are ways that viewers can absolutely help steer and wind and motivate and shape the narrative in a very twisty, turny, George R.R. Martin-y way, which will sometimes help your young protagonists, sometimes help the many, many antagonists that are out to suck the marrow from their bones. And, I mean, nothing, whatever, you guys are fine. Everything's fine. It's just a tourney.
Everything's
So-
fine.
That's where we're at on the PC front, on the Iron Throne, and kind of Stream Boss front. We have a few very quick kind of disclaimers to slap on this Mama Jama just for this episode. That is, Kevin, Sir Vannon Rivers, is not feeling real well today, so if he has to make a hasty retreat, we will find an in-game way to cover for him. Luckily, Sir Vannon probably has a bunch of like internal bleeding or something right now. So if he just has to take off, he just has to take off. Because several of the players got pretty beat up last episode, and it could sneak up on him. Also, Ash, who is sitting right below me here at Twitch, is actually sitting very far from home in Scotland, the way Scotland measures distances. In Texas, 90 miles is like, yeah, that's where the grocery store is. But in Scotland, 90
Across town.
miles is a several week trek as you're dodging bands of Highland Raiders, wildlings that are coming south of the wall. And, you know, of course, they don't have actual vehicles and stuff there. It's all just one big movie set, is the secret. So Ash's internet connection is just a little weebly woobly. Ash isn't on his home computer is the real issue. So Ash might be having some kind of lag issues and all that. Felicia broke her glasses like a goddamn child. So if her face looks crooked, that's why. And it really feels like Erica is the most reliable party member. And for once, Robert has drifted and slacked his way into being the second favorite child of House Nymerian, mostly because expectations are pretty low and he has a shirt on.
That's where we're at. And slow and steady.
You're
shirts.
You're on thin ice, mister.
I was going to say, you're being very unfair, Rusty. They actually have a vehicle in Scotland now. It's golf powered. They golf into like a.
They
like
all
a
have golf
cheater.
carts. That's all it is. It's golf carts.
I hate you.
So, that's where we're at. So we've
Sorry,
got the
Scotland.
potential for a couple of
They're
tech
great
issues. It's okay. If they get mad, they have to cross the narrow sea and get to us and stuff. So whatever, we'll be fine. The famous Scottish temper does not intimidate us this far away. Plus, also, just Ash is so adorably frustrated sometimes. And we got to help Ash get into character as Adam by picking on him a little bit. Help the social anxiety rise to the surface for
It is there.
This is all method acting. That's all this is.
So, I believe with all that out of the way, we are basically caught up. And we're going to pick up more or less where we left off last episode. We were finalizing the kind of quarterfinals, I think it was, of the joust. And in that third phase of the joust, two of the three members of House Nymerian fought tooth and nail, but were very narrowly defeated. The third of them, Bela, was very narrowly successful. As I recall, I think all three of those fights were literally down to like 1 or 2 health points going the other way. So they were very hard-fought bouts with a few opponents that didn't back down when they probably should have because they were fighting a bastard or a woman, and their pride kept them in it just long enough for a few decisive final blows.
Bad choice all around.
Yeah, bad choices from everyone, really, because everyone's a little bit beat up right now. But Bela did make it into the final 8. We had some kind of romance going on in the Maester's tent, which is not normally where romance happens because
You say that, but
like they are.
it's lonely in the Citadel.
Yeah, those sexy clanging old men really hit some buttons apparently.
Oh,
but it
young
was
man!
mostly the fortified wine and the milk of the poppy, I think, along with the occasional concussion. So we had a little bit of General Hospital going on. We had some Riverlander crooning of the Dornishman's wife as that romance kind of bubbled to the surface. And then we also had a bit of romance and mischief going on back in the pavilion tent where House Nymerian was nursing their wounds and rubbing a little salt in the wounds of their opponents with very generous casks of wine being granted to some vanquished foes that led to the squire of House Nymerian, young Oris Waters, giving a single lingering glance at the retreating Maya Stone, who is a tall and strong and bastard woman wearing breeches. And he's just kind of not really seen women in tight breeches before. But also, she was just a bastard, so he probably wouldn't get stabbed for enjoying the view as she walked away. And also, she's tall and strong and doesn't make him feel like a giant. So he emoted one single line of text of watching her walk away. And then Lucaris, by way of Satan, got involved and the situation just spiraled all out of control. And Ash had a really solid scene as young Adam raved into his pillow with a Dear Diary moment, and Bela turned into the surprisingly empathetic big sister who heard out young Adam with some young kind of heartbreak and jealousy and all that, and like she didn't stab anybody, and we were all very proud of Bela.
She actually
for
gave
her,
some good advice.
yeah,
Yeah,
so,
damn good advice.
yeah,
It was
her answer wasn't like shank 'em, not even once. So it was
Much to
Shanking.
everyone's surprise.
Shanking.
right, including Bela. So yeah, Bela was feeling kind of sappy, romantic, and sentimental after her own brush with love, or at least lust, or at least opium. And we had just a really fun wrap up to that episode with some of the characters' emotions and personal goals and stuff rising to the fore. And we're just going to kind of pick it up a nebulous later that evening because everyone's kind of been taking it easy. Most of the ransoms are largely caught up or can be paid later, but everyone's kind of mostly up on their coin. There isn't a several day backlog of ransoms like we had several episodes ago when 8 or 10 people were all stopping by. So everyone, including many of the knights that you've all bested, like people are just kind of licking their wounds and taking it easy and getting healed up. So we're going to open with some necessary mechanical kludge there because you guys are still nursing some wounds, and there's the possibility of some die rolls coming up in the near future. So everybody that is saddled with wounds, go ahead and get me 5 dice ready, and you're going to roll 5 and keep 4. We're going to say that is the kind of abstraction of all the maesters helping you get bandaged up between maesters and apprentices. So your injuries are gone. We're handling these kind of tourney level injuries like their fatigue, and they're going to go away pretty quickly. But we are going to work on getting rid of some of these wounds and just assuming everyone continues to take it easy and nobody's picking fights and stuff. We'll let you try to get in a little bit better shape before we move on mechanically to the next day. So we'll just get this kludgy dice rolling out of the way, even though technically it's not happening until the next morning. We'll just get that out of the way as everyone is describing how and where they're taking it easy. Because your options there are the pavilion tent, which is living a little bit more roughly, but you've also got nice rooms back at the Green Tree with food ready to go and warm drink and a soft bed and all that. So the injured folk will be making that call. And we're just going to kind of open with a montage of where people are spending their night type of thing. And maybe even describing your bandages and stuff for those of you that are as wounded as can be.
Well, Raina will be sleeping back at the Green Tree in an actual bed instead of on the cot because, well, I can.
Compelling argument.
And I'm a little spoiled.
Also a fair assessment of your character. And it's nobody really holds it against them. Why sleep in a tent if you don't have to, if that's not what you're used to? Raina's also not beat all to shit. She has long since healed up her damage, so any bandages that she is sporting are purely for show. Shame on you. So, I know you don't have a healing roll to make. Is there anyone that you're particularly looking for at the Green Tree?
Well, are the Lugai, are they present today?
The elder brother Sir Nathan is there, and we'll say that everyone at the Green Tree will have the option of hanging out with at least him, and we'll see who else people might be looking for at the Green Tree when we get to them. Luke, you probably had a healing roll to make, and you're also probably on your way to the green tree. So first off, how did that healing roll fall together for you?
Looks like I have 15 altogether.
All right, that should be enough.
I think I just had the one wound.
Yeah, I think your fight was a little bit less down to the wire as some of the others.
Yeah, I bowed out to stay fresh with the melee, so.
Yeah, give me 1 second as I double check the difficulty there. You didn't really do anything super gnarly after that. Because the healing difficulties tend to be based on the amount of physical activity that you're doing. But I'm going to keep yours at light or no. So yeah, that's enough. We will go ahead and knock off that wound for you. So kind of cinematically, you're still kind of bruised and battered. You might still have some bandages wound around your ribs and that sort of thing. But tourney combat being tourney combat, you're doing pretty okay. Let's check on your big sister, who also had, and I believe you had more than one wound to try to tackle here. So how bandaged up is Bela, and what was your healing test like?
So my healing test was a 16, and I had a nice gash in my side, so I have some bandages there. And the worst of it, I think, was on my hands, so those are probably fairly wrapped up and covered.
Yeah, Sir Marin Trent was pretty cruel to your spear hands in an attempt to kind of violently disarm you. Right now, he is a dick. That is good enough to remove one wound.
Just
You need a 9 for one wound. You need a 19 for 2 wounds.
Rusty?
Yeah, what's up?
Luke's going to keep a close eye on Bela and make sure she's escorted back to the green tree.
Sure.
She got pretty beat up out there, so.
Yeah. There is the potential. I don't know how your bonus die came up on that roll, because you should have been rolling 5, keeping 4.
It was a 1.
If you're okay, so not going to be worth keeping. But you're still up a wound, at least. But that's going to be some lingering damage on the morrow. And speaking of lingering damage, Sir Vannon also got beat pretty whooped. So I believe you were nursing also 2 wounds, correct?
Correct.
How did your healing roll come?
I have a 20.
All right then. That's going to be enough to shake off both of those wounds. How bandaged up are you looking? Any particularly cinematic injuries to make the ladies swoon?
The blood of the first men flows strong. In this particular case, there's probably some like bruising across the bottom of his jaw. He's got a black eye, but it's honestly kind of looking like a distinguished shiner rather than a good gods who beat the hell out of this man.
Right.
Everything else is covered up by clothes,
So everyone is able to nurse their wounds. I'm assuming Vannon was also retiring to the green tree, especially because that's where Bela was going. And
not
that
a
sort of
stalker.
Right.
But also, yes.
But also, yes. But yes. Also, we had discussed possibly hiring some guards.
You had that's something that you probably don't need to worry about here in King's Landing so much. I was under the impression it was mostly looking into like caravan guards for the ride home. I didn't know that you were looking into guards for here in town.
Well, we've had
So I'm misunderstanding.
we've had kettle blacks coming after us in alleyways. I'm sorry, I've had kettle blacks coming after me in alleyways. People
That's why
probably
we don't go anywhere alone anymore.
Okay, just making sure nobody's gonna mug us for our sweet bet winnings or something.
We're going to use the buddy system.
Yeah. And
Yes!
you guys aren't generally carrying around giant sacks of coin. You're still wagering throughout the tourney with kind of writs of credit from Illyrio Mopatis as tallies are tallied and that sort of thing. You may very well have a nice chest of coin for the journey home or that sort of thing. But as you begin to reach large sums, noblemen kind of don't bother with carrying actual coin around because they're noblemen, right? So yeah, you're not having to lug around giant sacks with dollar signs on the side or anything like that that's marking you as particularly vulnerable. Um, so we are going to handle the green tree initially, as that is where 4 of the PCs are. And as you make your way there, you can hear the General Raucus singing that lets you know ahead of time that Sir Nathan Lugas is in attendance and that Lyle Brewer, the owner and the guy who brews the booze there, is making good coin off of the rowdy Sir Nathan. And as you actually enter the green tree, and you get that smell of cooking mutton, the brewing beer, the kind of smoky interior of a tavern from some people busting out, pipes and that sort of thing, along with the fire, the cook fire and the hearth fires going. And you're also, just wrapped up in the heat of a building full of people and all that, as well as the good cheer. You do see Nathan Lugas leading a rousing chorus of some Dornish marcher fighting songs. You see his sister, Marita Lugas, kind of sitting in a corner booth with their brother, Orton, who is very slender and lean-faced and has his nose in a book, as he tends to. And they're sitting there sharing the occasional kind of sibling, long-suffering look as her betrothed, Sir Langley Woods, is sitting between them, chattering on about the tourney and talking about such and such with a lance. And did you see the size of that horse? We surely don't breed them that way north of the neck. And I've never seen such fine plate mail. Even the little squires had it. Talking about scions of House Lannister and things like that. So he's just kind of motor mouthing about how great the city is and how wealthy the Southerners are, because he's in the North, so everyone's a Southerner, and all that. And she is doing the look, just kind of pointedly ignoring him with a glass of wine in her hand, and just like desperately ignoring him in a very arranged marriage type of way. So perhaps it's a little understandable. And Orton just seems to be kind of oblivious to it all, sitting with his book. He's got it's not quite a lantern, it's kind of a covered candle. They've got like the glass thing that goes around a candle just to diffuse the light a little bit and kind of cover it. So it's not really sure what the difference is between that and a lantern. It's not oil or anything, it's just a candle, but it's got a little thing. And he is hunched over a book. And occasionally, and you notice, if you pay attention, it's literally every time he turns a page, he nods and goes, mm-hmm. So like he's barely going through the motions of paying attention to the people around him. He is the one that arranged the marriage in the first place, so he perhaps feels a little obligated to pretend to give a damn. So that's what we got. And then there's a general small horde of, just tavern goers, some men-at-arms and retainers and just Kingslanders. But you do also hear, augmenting Sir Nathan's coarse Stormlander bellow, the even coarser bellow of Alisane Mormont, the young she-bear, who does not know the words to Dornish March's fighting songs, but is by the 7 not letting that stop her. So she's just kind of la 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 ba ra ra, along with the tune with everyone else, drunk enough.
I'd like to
or-
interject as we enter the scene.
So that is what you guys see as the doors enter and the four of you go in. Don't worry, Ash/Adam. We are going to go back to the pavilion tent before we cut for the night. So you're not going to be completely ignored.
That's fine. I was under the impression I was also in the green tree. That's
Okay, you guys can
Fair.
be. That means Oris will be with you because
Yeah,
Raina
that's fine.
has made it clear nobody can go solo.
Yeah,
Cool.
that's
The
fine.
whole party will
Yeah.
be there then.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just
Likely with a couple retiring back to the pavilion later. Sounds.
As we enter, I'm gonna yell, "How come everywhere we go, we run these goddamn Lugases?" And I'm gonna stare at Nathan, and then after he kind of looks back, very seriously, I'm gonna crack a smile and grin.
And that's not far from fighting words, because remember that region of the Stormlands and the Reach are called
Oh, yeah.
Dornish Marches because that's where the Dornish marched through to go a murdering, and vice versa.
I am specifically
So,
playing
yeah.
off that.
Oh yeah, as you all have been most of the week. So the song kind of peters out for a second, and then he just
everything goes silent for me.
and he comes charging your way for a bare hug, as though you are a long lost friend and not someone he literally met in this inn like 5 days ago.
For a split second, my hand goes to my small sword as I get charged by a large Stormlander. However, realizing what's going on, I loosen up, I extend my arms and do a hug, and go, "You son of a bitch, good job out there."
He will kind of nod and grin, and his big, he's got like a crooked nose from breaking and face like a battleship, right? He's just got this prominent heroic jaw and this huge muscular neck, and he just kind of nods
Probably
at you in a
outweighs
way
me
that's
quite a bit.
dangerously close to a headbutt. His enthusiastic nod. And he's like, "Oh, get the bastard next time." And
Yeah, you almost had him.
and that sort of thing. He goes, "I did almost have him, Peck." And he looks around, and his much abused squire is in the background, sopping up some stew with some rolls. And he looks up, and on cue, at just a bellowed Peck, he leans over and sharing the booth with Peck is just the pair of like tourney scarred kite shields that Nathan Lugas kept from his prior opponents as kind of his trophies. He does not ransom back all of their armor. He very pointedly keeps a couple trophies. So he's still got
I have
those
to say,
trophies on display. Peck
tossing
still has
your
to sit
shield.
with them. And, yeah.
Well, what was left of it? Classy move, very classy.
He's the one that broke the damn thing. He can keep the
Right.
shards of it. It's his fault.
I bet had he drank half of what you had the night before, you'd have won.
If he drank half of what I had the night before, he'd have died.
I'm gonna yell to the tavern keeper, "Round for everybody!"
You get a bellow of gratitude from generic tavern goers, and a downright bearish roar from Alisane Mormont, who also toasts you with her drinking horn, drinks are passed around, and the situation is further lubricated. So, who else is looking for some Lugai interactions? Remembering that physical stuff should stay kind of to a minimum, so nobody start a brawl, or you're going to be in some trouble with those healing rolls. But yeah, who else we got?
I imagine there's a grunt in pain as he embraces us. Ow.
I'm the only one who's not injured.
Yeah, so
I'm not injured
Oh, okay.
But you murdered someone, so your soul is injured.
That's a little strong.
She has a tally on her sword belt, not an injury.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab
so-
some wine, and then go to talk to Nathan Lucas.
Nathan is right there with
Yeah.
Lucaris. He is easy to find, and in fact hard not.
All right. I'm gonna try to toast the melee coming up. Say cheers for the melee.
You get another roar from everyone. The melee is a favorite of the highborn that are here. Well, of Nathan at least. Orton doesn't care. Marita doesn't care. But Langley Woods, sitting between them, does cheer. He tries to get to his feet to cheer appropriately and almost spills his drink, which gets him a withering stare from Orton, who kind of pointedly slides the book away from him and kind of hunkers over it protectively. And you're reminded Langley Woods is like all elbows, knees, and Adam's apple, right? He's just that almost like Goofy the character, like almost that caricature type of long, just really skinny, kind of ungainly dude that looks awkward kind of when he does anything, but trying to stand up at like a booth, and he like bangs his knees on it as he stands and almost spills and almost falls. You can see Marita rolling her eyes like across the tavern, like as her dashing beloved almost, bashes the table and spills drinks and stuff. She's like, ah. So it's a little awkward, but he is joining in. Alisane Mormont joins in the cheer. So all the highborn, except for Orton and Marita, but all three of them are in the melee and are looking forward to it quite clearly. But also the kind of nameless, faceless tavern goers. Small folk love a melee. They love watching highborn people beat each other up. And this is more of that, right? It's not just two at a time like a joust. It's almost 50 of the gold drunk bastards wailing on each other with weapons to the last man. So like small folk love that shit. So yeah, you get a rousing cheer comparable to the round that Lucaris paid for from the general. Like, this, the fucking melee. I love that. You guys are gonna hurt each other so bad, and no small folk get drafted into it by the thousands. Like, this is the best. Like, that's the general tone of the cheer.
All right. So then I'm gonna just try to start up a conversation about the melee some. Nathan, who you looking out for in this melee? Like, who's the big teams we need to watch out for?
Don't worry, I'll protect you, Dornish lot. Girls, bastards, and drunkards, the lot of you.
Hey.
I meant you, Luke. You're the drunkard.
I'm more of a horror, right?
Yeah, I was kind of. If that's the only three categories, I have no idea which. Maybe the girls.
Don't worry, boy. You're still growing.
There's still time. There's a booze here and a horror place across the street.
Yes, I suppose with you it always comes down to a question of order rather than priority.
And then he gives Bela kind of a fuzzy look as the wheels churn. He goes, "Oh, you meant who am I worried about?"
Yeah.
And then he leans in conspirationally, like makes a big show of looking over his shoulders, casting a wary glance at Alisane, and he leans in real close, and he goes, "Blup," and burps right in your ear, and he goes, "Not a one of them. They're worried about me." And
you could have saw that coming.
It does not help your concussion headache. But yeah, he is drunk or just confident enough to be drunk or just confident enough to not seemingly be very worried.
All right, let me try a different tactic then.
Like you know that a few hours ago he got his ass beat by Bronzion Royce 1-on-1. So like maybe he should be worried about Bronzion Royce. Like you know that there are people he should be worried about, but he does not. He does not seem to be taking common sense to heart.
Is there anyone you're looking forward to knocking out of the melee? Like, who's your priority? Who are you going for first?
That whoremonger Bronzion.
Revenge, then.
Unless all 48 of you other bastards are in the way. But even if they are, yeah, we'll see where the 7 place us, though. But no, there's a reckoning coming to House Royce.
Great.
He says,
Great.
troubling confidence.
Super.
It's Bronzion Royce!
When it comes down to it, we should probably gang up on him so he's, distracted by multiple people, I think. That way, when his back is turned to you, you can get a strike in, or I can kind of hobble him a little bit so you can get a nice wallop on him.
Oh.
So you can whomp him in the joust, right?
Well,
Or is that
Gives
going
you
up against?
that's not who I'm facing first, though.
Okay, never mind.
He gives you a kind of bleary-eyed look, and he goes, well, I mean, some of that odd, but I'll not strike a man from behind. But, a melee is a melee, so it's war as you can. But not dishonorably, no. I'll not backstab like some reach knight.
Like some
Wow.
kettle black.
All right, well, then I can, two of us in the front. He can block my spear and then not dodge your axe or whatever it is you use. Sword. Insert whatever
I haven't
he
decided.
uses.
I haven't decided what to bring to the melee yet. I don't like to plan things in advance. Go
We
with
know.
my gut. Play it by ear. Stormlanders. And he leans in kind of uncomfortably close again.
I
Stormlanders. He goes, Stormlanders, let their passions guide them.
Ooh.
Indeed. It's worked well for you so far.
Any sarcasm slithers off him like spilled ale off the duck's back.
It's only half sarcastic. I mean, he's gotten pretty far.
He's a warrior, man. I mean, no doubt.
Alisane Mormont will, I was going to say, will bull her way into the conversation, but she will bear her way into the conversation, just kind of unabashedly shouldering herself into the small circle of you, just kind of, and just kind of brawns her way in, and she goes, I'll tell you who I'm looking for.
Is it a fray?
Yeah.
That Beric Dondarrion. He
Oh,
owes
yeah.
me a rematch, and this time he won't have a stinking horse. We'll fight on foot like the old gods made us.
I think she could take Beric on foot.
She's weaving a bit as she talks, but she also sounds quite confident.
We would all be fools that are estimating northerners in the melee.
There's more than one of us. There's exactly 2 of us.
Yes.
And she turns and
That's
kind
more
of
than
looks
one.
around and then raises her drinking horn to Langley, who seems to be still apologizing to his betrothed for his awkwardness and does not notice the toast. But yeah, those are the only 2 Northmen that are here. But they're the only 2 that you've heard of that are in the melee. The Laurel and Hardy of Alisane Mormont and Langley Woods.
He's like super like he's the skinny one.
Yes, he is. He is a beanpole, and she is not. She is not that. But yeah, she sounds absolutely confident that she's going to be looking for Beric Dondarrion and getting herself a rematch. She's bleary-eyedly kind of admits, now I haven't heard who else is on his 7, but don't care, because there's still only 7 of them, and they won't stop me from getting that pretty boy. Might be I'll steal his cloak. Ah, there's a fancy cloak. The lightning bolts and such.
That
Finer.
actually raises an interesting point. I'm going to look at Raina, sister. We are not 7.
Yeah, so you're not your new gods either.
You are actually. I know that it's been a couple months in real life, but you guys do have a 7 stack.
It's us. There's myself and you and Bela and Vannon and Oris. The other 2 are Will of Will.
Mm-hmm.
And Nathan Lucas.
Not Will. Yeah, Will of Will and
Nathan Lucas.
Nathan Lucas, who's
Nathan.
Yep,
that
so
is
you
right.
guys-
Okay,
Yeah,
my
you
mistake.
guys have a. Yeah, you are no longer looking for a group. You have a 7 stack ready to queue in the melee.
Yeah, and I was
Okay.
waiting to see if anything happened to him before we circled back to that because
Okay, yeah,
he's the
I
type
just didn't
that would-
remember. So,
yeah, he's the type that would get himself super messed up in the joust.
Well, so are we. If you look around our group.
And Will of Wills is not here at the moment. Is that correct?
Nope, you haven't seen
Okay.
him in the in drinking and stuff lately. He's been a little scarce most of the week. You did see him with his ancestral steel sword, Valyrian steel sword on his hip, in the joust. But no one has seen Sir Gennady Shaneen.
Yeah, what happened there?
I don't know. It's a mystery.
I saw him with the sword,
knows?
but
Yeah. He had the sword when I jousted him on that first day. And now cousin Will has his own sword back. I don't know.
Good for
Could be anything. Maybe he paid him a nice reward for finding his ancestral family sword.
What did you do to him, Bela?
Lord, yes. I'm sure that's exactly what Gennady Shaneen thought it was.
On topic of that, you did have Gennady Shaneen's ransom waiting for you when you came to the Green Tree a day or 2 ago, Bela.
Right.
His reward was left for you with Lyle Brewer. So you got paid that ransom, but not like face to face. Just the coin was waiting for you.
Okay.
So yeah, but no one's seen Gennady around for a couple days.
That's terrible.
Oh no. That concerns me deeply.
You're a shitty
So-
liar, sister.
Any other plans or NPC interactions here before we kick on to the next day? Or is...
Yeah, I would like to ask Allison about Sir Sir Garland, like just to find out if she has like any information that might be useful to me.
She will bat her eyelashes almost alarmingly and kind of coo at you in a way fairly reminiscent of Bessa of Flea Bottom when she was like, he can butter me buns anytime. Right? She leans in for like some girl talk type of stuff. And she's like, I didn't know much about him, but he's a pretty little southerner, isn't he?
Sure is.
Yeah, she hasn't really interacted with him or anything that you have noticed or heard.
But does she know much about like tournament like rumors?
She
or
knows
knowledge?
distressingly little about
Okay.
tournaments.
All right.
You may recall that she and her squire were using the same battered breastplate as
Oh,
the
yes.
entirety of their armor. They were sharing the same northern pony. It's like she's just kind of here because she heard there was a tourney and it might be neat. You suspect she does not have a tourney specialty on her status. Yeah, she's just like, I don't know.
Okay,
I just know
that's fair.
he's a pretty one and he seems pretty good in the saddle. People might need to watch out for those Tyrells at these jousts and such. Like she's like
Don't
that
say.
level of like
Oh my
Captain.
gosh, that's
She
adorable.
just this is not her bag.
When you said pretty good at the saddle, I did not see that sentence ending that way.
Right? Because it's Allison.
Okay, that's all I was interested in.
All right.
I will just
Yeah.
be polite with the sister, whose name I just forgot.
With the Marita Lucas. As you like approach the table, she gets up and walks towards you. Like, oh, someone has drifted near. That is my excuse. And like she half-heartedly murmurs, like, "Oh, look who it is, Lady Raina. Something must go. Girl talk. You know how it is." And she just is like up and away.
I will link my arm into
Orton.
hers and walk her away from the table.
Orton murmurs at him, quite right, as he does not look up from his book. Langley starts to stammer something like, "Farewell, beloved." Oh, and she's gone. Well, good, just us then, Orton. Right. And he's just kind of left sitting there. But yeah, so she will link arms with you. She's a tall woman, bigger and burlier. She's of a Lugus build. Remember that their mother was a Clegane by birth. So she is a.
They're all
she's
big ones.
Yes, they are. She is wide hipped and big boned and tall. Yeah, she will link arms with you and cheerfully be led kind of across the room.
I'm like, you seemed in distress and in need of an escape.
Alas, that has been my lot since my family began arranging marriages. It would seem this latest one is simply a different flavor of distress. He is dreadful. Just so dull.
Well, at least he doesn't seem cruel or gross.
Those would at least be exciting, and have been in the past. However, unfortunately briefly, of course.
I've yet to marry, so I have not had to deal with either cruel, gross, or boring.
Oh, but I hear you're eating in the Red Keep on the morrow, so you'll likely get seconds or thirds of all three. She rolls her eyes and goes, "That king is just my brother writ larger."
Wow, that's pretty accurate.
I can't argue with that. I actually agree heartily.
Very rarely have so few words meant so much.
Right?
A true poet, Rusty.
She will cheerfully gossip with you some. You mentioned out of character, the topics of happy marriages. She does have some gossip about Sir Garland and his wife.
Yeah.
She rolls her eyes and it's like they are dreadfully in love. It is grotesque. And like it's that sort of like resentful about their happiness type of thing. But it's not uncommon for Stormlanders and Reach folk to travel on the tourney circuit occasionally, and they kind of talk shit about each other, but they're kind of similar. The Reach is just Stormlanders with a bit more class. But there's enough travel there, and the Tyrell are juicy enough targets of gossip that it's easy to pick up a few notes like that. So she can certainly be one of the people that you picked up that gossip from, that you asked about between sessions.
I am disappointed.
It's just like, You and half the women in the realm, and likely more than a few men.
He's
Um,
pretty amazing.
that does leave their corner booth free for the bookish Orton Lugas, the socially awkward Langley Woods, and the bookish and socially awkward Adam to form Voltron back in the corner. So
Oh, it takes 5 to form Voltron.
if you guys, yeah, so I'm assuming that you lot aren't likely to start a brawl or anything like that. So I am content to just assume that, like, the three.
I want to see this
know,
brawl.
Yeah, and by brawl I mean a rousing
Arguing over
match
some
of
old Maester
Magic.
sayings.
Magic the Gathering breaks out in the corner of the tavern. But yeah, nothing of particular note is likely to happen in that corner. So we're not necessarily going to role play out that full scene unless you have a particular question that you would like to ask Orton or that type of thing. I am content that we just kind of fade to black like we would for an awkward lovemaking scene.
Yay for awkwardness!
Oh, what about ones that aren't awkward?
Yeah, who says they have to be awkward?
Just
Yeah,
some
I
of them.
do.
Yeah.
Ooh.
He is currently reading The Life of the Triarch Bellico, Volume 2, which is the story of a famous Triarch of Volantis. Bellico, a nigh legendary figure.
I just see Adam starting a fight. Oh, I found those writings rather reductionist.
As an interesting note, Bellico is named after Bill Belichick of the New England Patriots, which George R. Martin is a...
He likes his
a lot
football.
of characters after football players.
Well, he likes his football. Bellico, I guess we should be saying Bellicho instead. But anyways, Bellicho was devoured by the Giants. And George R. Martin loves the New York Giants. So that's the story of like Belichick just got beat by the Giants is his thing. And it's a reference to the Patriots' loss in the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
So I thought it would be right.
I lost
thought
a
it would
bet
be
on that
fun.
game.
I thought it would be fun to tackle the real world.
That is
Predator.
painful to me.
I'm just seeing like Mag the Mighty burping.
But isn't the giant 1-1 named after one of the New York Giants whose number is 11?
Probably.
So, so yes, that's a reference as well.
So I thought we'd toss some real world nerdery into the nerdy corner back there. Any particular questions for Orton or things there?
I mean, like, basically, for any viewers who weren't at last session, Adam kind of had a bit of a strop and went upstairs and got kind of upset, and so basically what he's done while all of this other chat has been going on, he has calmed down and quietly come downstairs and sat with Orton and asked about his book so he doesn't have to talk about how he stormed off about an hour ago and is just kind of embarrassed and, you know, just kind of trying to talk about anything but that, essentially.
Sure. Orton does not seem like he would care if you did try to start a conversation about that, even. Like, so he is a safe space. His lack of interest in romantic gossip or the heartbreak of young teenagers means it is not going to come up at all.
Yeah, I mean, Adam's really kind of not. I mean, even Bela knowing is too many people knowing. So.
Yeah.
So he's mostly kind of staying quiet and just kind of watching what's going on.
Speaking of staying quiet, Oris is currently brooding and drinking off by himself here in the tavern.
There's a shocker.
Because you're not allowed to stay alone anywhere. So he was not back at the pavilion tent, but he is just kind of sitting by himself over at a table where he has secured himself a bottle and a cup, and is doing as Oris does when anything is mildly upsetting or confusing to him, or when he feels a bad feeling like this might be guilt, because he did kind of worry that he was why Adam was upset on account of him eating a turkey leg in front of him and making Adam feel bad about his
I forgot.
his
I completely
injury.
forgot about that.
But
So that was the other person I wanted to talk to, actually.
Misunderstanding was awesome.
yes, so Oris is just kind of sitting. He is not taking part in the singing. He is not, laughing it up with everybody. He's just kind of sitting alone, and has turned to the drink, because he also just has a lot of coin and he can buy the good stuff. So that is what he is up to.
Okay, so I'm gonna grab some of the stew and then go sit with him for a little bit to have a conversation.
Okay. He gives you a grunt of hello as you sit down, and kind of casts a glance around for like where you got the stew, but doesn't like say anything about it. He's just like, oh yeah, stew, like that sounds pretty good, but not good enough to do anything about it right now. That is the level of emotional attachment you get from him.
Okay.
And he also kind of scoots his bottle and cup away from you a little to make room for the highborn lady at the table, so he's not crowding you. So he kind of he man spreads less, right? Like instead of being the looming guy who has claimed this table, to you he immediately gives up the claim on that table and silences himself down to one small corner of it, conceding territory immediately at the arrival of a highborn.
Yeah, and picture that with him being like this really large guy too. So he's not small.
Yeah. So it's and it's also the lowborn squire to a hedge knight would claim territory from other lowborn people and look threatening and big and stuff, and then immediately stops it when challenged by a highborn. So it's very much just like an instinctive thing for him to kind of shrink when you come over. He, just kind of concedes most of the table to you, quietly, reflexively.
Okay. Oris, how's it going? How you feeling?
He shrugs. I'm fine. Cut's not so bad.
Oh, fine. He's really
That's
not
good.
fine.
It's good. There's a couple big days coming up soon. You looking forward to it? You excited?
Hoping to make a good bit of coin, and kind of sad that the squire's joust's almost over.
Sad, but I mean, out of everyone, you have probably the best chance to win this thing.
Yeah, but I found something I'm good at, and I'm gonna have to stop doing it soon.
Jousting? Oh, I wouldn't worry about that too much. I mean, jousting isn't everything. There's a lot of other things you'll get to do now that you're a little higher station than you were. There's some new opportunities, and unfortunately sometimes that comes with responsibilities too, so you get to fill
He gives you
he
gives you a bit of a wary look, like this is leading to something. He doesn't comment, but you can just kind of see his eyes narrow a little, like all right, here it is. The highborn wants something. Get to it, right? It's like that.
Yeah.
That other kind of instinctive look. He doesn't question or interrupt. He just tenses for the blow.
Well, we're going to the big feast tomorrow night. I'm guessing you're a little nervous about that, right?
He answers by finishing his cup of spirits and pouring another.
Yeah. You're not the only one that's nervous about that, so like it's completely normal. Like, this is the king, and there's a lot of high people there, and I
Just
don't know, like it's not
you
really.
castle folk.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
that's true.
I don't understand you castle folk and your rules. That lady had her teats out, but then I got yelled at for saying that lady's got her teats out. I don't get castle feasts.
I, I think the only real rule I've been able to figure out is to try to not offend people. I That's the only thing that's kept me from, I don't know, embarrassing myself too much. I don't know if that's even good advice, but that's
He snorts a little, but does not comment.
yeah. Um, so so about the joust though, um, something maybe a little bit more familiar for now. Uh, so my opponent tomorrow, Sir Garland, like, have you heard a lot of like rumors or such just like hanging around the tournament yards?
Only about the last dozen years or so.
Oh, really?
That's about how long he's been a page slash squire to Willie Will, who has made his living entirely as a tourney knight.
Okay.
It was Oris's attempt at a joke.
Yeah. So so I'm, with the melee coming up, I'm a little concerned. I hold up my hands of, not being totally ready for the melee, or not even being able to give my all at the joust tomorrow either. And the reputation of Sir Garland's pretty high. What do you think the odds are that just knocking him off his horse will be enough to get him to stop? I don't know if I can keep taking this fight to the ground every time.
He gives you a look with kind of one eyebrow quirk, just a little, and he slides his full cup of spirits across the table to you and
Okay.
shrugs.
You don't know? Well, what about have you been in any other tournaments where he's been there and there was a melee? Or, like, does he seem to... Well, I guess this is a little different because it's not normal for people to take the fight to the foot. Okay.
He just nods down at the drink very pointedly.
The drink.
The drink that he offered you.
All right,
Like
I'm gonna
he
take the
gave
drink.
yeah, it's hard liquor. It's the Kingslander whiskey type of thing. And he just kind of gives you a shrug. Like, that's all I can think to do to get ready for that.
Drink harder.
Yeah. Well, you're definitely larger than any of the other squires here. You just bash them with that maul, destroying their armor. I think that's what's going to work for you.
It's worked so far. I mean, or the spear, or just whatever it is one of you gives me. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think the maul is going to be the best bet.
He gives a non-committal shrug.
Right.
It was a confident it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like a certainty of like whichever thing you guys give me, I will win. But it's like I said, he's got kind of a fatalistic optimism, and like he seems incredibly certain that he is going to win, but he also is incredibly certain that he's not going to get to do this again, maybe ever. Like that sort of, so he's just like, he is a guy that's dealing with the fact that this might be the best week of his life. Like, that's the vibe you've got from him. He's like, Willie will never ever let him do this before. He's concerned he's never going to get to do it again. He knows he's going to win, but he's already moved past the winning and is morose about like getting in trouble for it. So it's just a weird,
Wait.
kind of gloomy, confident Oris.
Getting in trouble for winning?
Because remember, again, it's been a long time in real life, but
Yeah.
Wooly Will never ever let him fight against anyone.
Oh, and the
Wooly
reason
Will
was because
never let him spar against other squires,
yeah.
much less do squires jousts. He has only ever sparred and tilted against Wooly Will and the occasional unlucky bandit. So like this is his like coming out party, and Wooly Will isn't here, and also the one authority figure he's had his whole life is probably going to punish him for this. So Oris is Oris is being gloomy and broody for a reason. I just wanted to kind of remind you guys of some of that. And he's only doing this because you guys let him.
Yeah.
He has never been allowed to do it before.
If I remember right, he was given the instructions not to like make himself too public, right?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here he goes about
And
to
we've
win.
pretty much just completely ignored that.
He's just he is certain he's going to win, and he is resigned to losing in the long term after winning the joust and that sort of thing. That's his mood at the moment.
Well, look, so far this week's been pretty good, and let's make the most of it and enjoy the last few days we have here in King's Landing.
You hear Luke hear a stroke from behind you.
Yeah, Luke?
Bela, when you get a moment, can I speak to you?
Sure, I was just finishing up here with Oris.
No, yes, of course. He steps away. He's not like spying or anything, just trying to get her to.
Okay. Yeah, so
Oris gives you a little toast with his refilled glass, and you are sent on your way whenever you want to. Oris, unsurprisingly, does not drag out the conversation.
Okay. I'll leave the stew there since it looked like he was eyeing that pretty good. And say, here, why don't you finish this for me?
He can always eat.
As you stand up, he shifts his posture and stuff and like reclaims the table as his, including reaching out and like just hauling the stew over. He doesn't start on it immediately. He casts a wary eye around the tavern for anyone else out to like take his food or drink or privacy. And he just kind of does this kind of reflective.
It's official. He's our dog.
It's not a dog.
So we will go to Lucaris and Bela then. Seems like that's where the cameras go.
Yeah. Luke, what?
As Bela approaches, I'm going to slowly reach out and grab one of her injured hands, kind of look it over. The bastard really did a number on you, didn't he?
Yeah, it'll be fine in like a day or so. Like it looks worse than it is just because it's like the fingers, but
I saw those hits. It was well. Just want to say you did a hell of a job. So
thanks. That was a really tough fight. I thought for a few times a few of those blows were gonna take me out of the fight, but somehow the adrenaline or just something in me just kept me going.
Well, you had the warrior with you that day. To be honest, I wish I had been able to win mine as well, and you should have pulled out probably. He did quite a bit, but I'm glad you won.
Thank you.
Very proud.
Thank you. I'm proud.
And they'll think twice between your win and the rate of killing that kid. They'll think twice before fucking with you are winning.
I chuckle a bit at that, assuming it's a joke, and I say, yeah, I imagine they will.
Luke kind of nods and he looks around. He kind of looks out of the doorway towards the pillow house across the street and looks back at the rest of the tavern. Okay, I just wanted to check in on you. Are you going to be okay for the mail?
Yeah, I think so. As long as I don't pick up any more injuries like this, yeah, I should be fine.
Let's try something. When it actually begins, why don't you hold back a bit? Stay behind the rest of us. Reserve your strength for the end.
Yeah. Honestly, I was kind of thinking along the same lines. I'm gonna, like, both me and Raina might be a bigger target, especially me making the name that I did on the tourney field, and perhaps our house in general. It seems like everyone is really upset with us, and I don't know. Yeah. Anyhow,
I should talk to Raina about this, but as a strategy, we should probably let the rest of the groups do as much damage to each other as they can. But you specifically just stay behind the lines and rest up and heal, and then when the rest of them are exhausted,
yeah,
get that.
I mean, I'm sure Nathan's gonna probably charge somewhere, knowing him. I don't want to abandon him. We should probably stay close, but I do agree we should not try to like enter the center of the big melee and have everyone fighting us at once.
If he gets too far out, I will join him. I'm not gonna let him go alone. But ultimately, you two are more important. So.
Well, the whole team's important.
Ultimately, you two are more important, he says, glancing at the whorehouse across the street.
Which he does, yeah.
Are you looking to head across the street tonight?
Road trip!
Queen of Thorn suggested I should cut back on that, and I've been trying.
Well, I mean, it doesn't make any difference to me. I don't really care. But for maybe the next couple of days, she has information gatherers in many places. I don't know. I mean, it's up to you. I don't really.
Well, fooling her for a day or two isn't going to matter. But
well, at least you can honestly say that you have cut back. And
I'm pretty sore too. So unless anyone in the chat wants to encourage me, Luke is going to stay not at the whorehouse tonight.
I'm very proud of him.
That comes after the melee.
Any other particular role plays tonight?
No, I'm good. At that point, Luke will get some drinks and try to get some sleep before it's too late.
Sensible.
All right.
Although I do want to run something by Raina before the next evening, but for right now, I'm good.
There is likely room to stay at the Green Tree, if this is where Adam wants to stay the night. There's Oris can sleep in the common room. Adam can sleep with Raina or Bela or Luke or Van. So there's rooms aplenty.
Or keep Oris company.
I could. I mean, if nothing else, once kind of Bela's walked away, Adam will be kind of trying to subtly but quickly kind of get round to her and go, you didn't tell him anything about what we talked about, right?
What? No, of course not.
Oh, thank God. Sorry, I'm like, just don't tell anyone, please.
No, it's fine. Mum's the word.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else going on this evening? Or are we clear to jump cut to the next morning as the jousts are preparing to renew?
Let's do it.
All right. So we will cut to the next day. Bandages have been changed. Clean clothes have been found. Breakfast has been eaten. The sun is well into the sky before the tilting needs to continue on this next day of the tourney. because one of the upside is that as the field gets more narrow, it takes a lot less time for things to go on. So it's kind of mid-morning, let's say late morning, going to like 10:30-ish in people terms.
That early?
Before the fourth round of the joust, because King Robert doesn't want to miss the good shit, and the knights get kind of center stage as high sun approaches. The squire's joust will be in the afternoon when it's a lot more hotter. A lot more hotter, I said as an adult. When it is a lot hotter and more miserable in their armor and stuff. So the squires get moved to the afternoon to suffer and bake, while the knights have nice, kind of late morning and that sort of thing. So you are once again able to reach a fantastic viewing spot here right on the edge of the tourney ground, where they've got kind of that bench style seating set up, and also a few small areas of just where people stand and mingle. You are able to stand and mingle once again with Illyrio Mopatis, who has been cheerfully wagering with the lot of you, and apparently effortlessly keeping track of said wagers and debts and payments. And as always, he greets the lot of you effusively, as though you're all long-lost siblings or patrons or friends or family of his. And he also has a tray, well, a page with a tray of fine red wine already waiting for the lot of you. Bela is going to be at least partially in her armor, because she is going to be jousting second today. But there's a little more time between rounds. That's not as rushed as the early days, so she still doesn't have to miss a joust to go be ready. But everyone else can be wearing more kind of casual, comfortable stuff. Oris is also in his armor, because he needs to be ready for the squire's joust picking up next. But everybody gets big greetings. He bows and kisses a few hands, and that sort of thing. His beard is oiled and perfumed today. It's 2 forks of blue hair, matching his flowing blue locks. They've all been dyed and very, stylized in the Asosi manner. He's very flamboyant and colorful and loud and cheerful compared to your average Westerosi highborn. And the good cheer...
Yes, I do have a question for you.
Go ahead.
I know your people tend to use dyes a lot. Do you have anything to remove dye from someone's...
Of course. Several tinctures are kept handy in my humble estate here in King's Landing, should I feel an urge to adjust the tint of my hair, or if it needs to be cleaned and reapplied, or that sort of thing. Yes, all manner of things are ready, my friend.
I would much appreciate the chance to buy one of those off of you.
Of course not. It is yours. What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine. What is ours. We are friends and allies to the end. Nay, family, I say. I'll bring some tomorrow.
Friend, of course.
Bring some tomorrow.
Or perhaps you need them. Or perhaps you need them for the feast tonight. Yes.
That was my plan. Yes.
I'll have my people deliver it to your people. The green tree, the pavilion, perhaps a vial to each, so that we find you in either place.
I always in your debt, of course. Thank you.
On the topic...
You shouldn't say that to him. He might take it serious.
On the topic of families and debts, however, and he turns almost cartoonishly mournful, and he turns to Sir Vannon Rivers. He goes, I am afraid, my friend, that our gaming must come to an end. And he produces from one wide sleeve, or perhaps behind one of his rings or some little quick sleight of hand thing, as though from nowhere, he suddenly has two slender ribbons of paper that you instantly recognize as the sort of thing ravens carry. Um, and he holds them out just long enough for you to make out the seals on the end of each. Uh, one of them is of House Blackwood. It's not terribly uncommon to still deliver brief messages in that type of paper, in a text instead of email, as it were. The other, though, must have actually been carried by Raven. It sports the seal of House Nymerian of Wyvern's Rest. He says, I have been keeping in contact with your Lord Grandfather. He waves to the rest of them, keeping him abreast of our business dealings as his requested. Alas, he has reminded me that a goodly bit of coin needs must go directly from the pockets of his ward to the coffers of House Nymerian. One share of the coin that you have amassed this week, I'm afraid, must go directly to the debts of House Nymerian and their furthering of business dealings with me and my estates. Somehow it would seem that your Lord Father also received word of our successful and profitable and very exciting gaming, and alas, he has also called for 1/3 of your earnings. I am a humble businessman, and it is not in my station to refuse the lawful request of mighty lord of the Riverlands. And it is my understanding that you are still something akin to his property. Though, of course, slavery is abolished in these enlightened lands, you are still, in a way, his. So I thought it best to break the news myself.
I am indeed my father's son in all but name. But thank you for your good sportsmanship, and it is, of course, and I look at everybody else, my pleasure to serve the House Nymerian, whether sword or coin.
Yeah.
We will still be seeing to it. My people will speak with your people before the tourney's end, and the remainder of your winnings will be delivered to you in the form of your choice. Perhaps also a small rounding error might help the young man against the older. Unfortunate mathematical errors are not uncommon among my people, he says with a weird sense of pride.
My good lord, I am ever in your service.
And then he turns to the rest of you, spreading his broad hands, bejeweled almost grotesquely. Most of his fingers have more than one ring. Most of the rings have more than one stone. And it just glitters apologetically. And he goes, I'm afraid also your Lord Grandfather has made it clear that 1/3 of all your earnings will be transferred directly to the coffers of House Nymerian.
Grandfather.
I am unfamiliar with the familial duties of the proud and noble folk of Westeros, as of course I am a humble businessman from far away. But perhaps again some small rounding errors. And it has been made clear that the rest of you are free to continue wagering. But there was some concern about... he looks kind of apologetically towards one of the letters and doesn't specify which. But he looks down at it as like an excuse about a bastard's grasp and reach perhaps being different. So I'm afraid no further wagers for you, Sir Vannon. But the rest of you are free to spend what coin is still yours to spend. But in better news, honeyed figs. And he claps his jeweled hands together, and one of his people scurries up with a tray of some delectable sweet treats. And you get the distinct impression that to him, the two things are about the same. 1/3 of an ephemeral fortune that so far exists only on paper is about the same to him as an actual tray of delicious honeyed figs. And he's just as upbeat and cheerful about it as he was when he won tremendous wagers, as he was when he lost tremendous wagers. Illyrio Mopatis is an interesting fellow.
I'm watching Dan's face closely. I want to see how he's reacting to this.
Oh, I'm fucking frozen.
Of course, any coin of mine is, of course, the house's. I would assume that. I kind of nod to Ilio politely. But I look back at Dan, who's been told he can't bet anymore.
What?
Yeah, you cut out a little bit there, Robert.
Oh, sorry. I look back at Bannon, who has just been told he cannot bet anymore because he's a bastard, and kind of concern on my face. I try to read his reactions and just watch what he does.
If fire could freeze.
Illyrio gives another kind of apologetic shrug while popping a honeyed fig into his mouth and then loudly slurping his fingertips clean. He goes, of course, your money is the house's money and whatnot. That just perhaps your grandfather sought to simply expedite such matters and immediately make the coin available for other business arrangements. I do not know.
Illyrio,
That's fine.
it is not you don't have to worry about trying to explain this. We know exactly what he was doing.
But honeyed figs.
I take a
I
fig.
take a fig. Dan, would you join me for a bit of our house wine?
Seems there's naught else for me to do. Thank you, my lord.
As we walk off, I'm going to kind of shake our head. I'm not your lord, Dan. I'm your friend. We're practically brothers.
Perhaps that's the case. Seems those who I would have called my brothers see me as grasping.
You did quite well for yourself in the betting, did you not? After the
Not as
ransom,
well.
I had but 100 gold dragons. What did you have?
Not enough for what I'd hoped.
There may not be enough gold dragons for what you hoped. Still, though, I suspect somebody doesn't want you making that name for yourself.
Yes, well, a Rivers once claimed the throne. No saying what a bastard can do in this world.
I put a hand on his shoulder and I pour us both some wine. And I don't have any other words for him because words are meaningless.
All right. Some horns blare. And the joust is ready to commence for the day. First up, trotting onto the field, is Sir Vardis Egan, captain of the household guard of the Eyrie in the Vale of Erin, and the recent vanquisher of Sir Lucaris Nymerian. He and his destrier high step onto the field, draped in all their finery, and his personal colors are quartered and complemented by the colors of House Erin itself, who he serves with gallantry and honor.
Rusty, when I had
Yeah.
paid the ransom back to him to get my gear, it was off screen, but I just wanted to note that I would have been very polite to him. I would have congratulated for him. It was a hell of a fight.
Sure.
What I have not had in a long time. So there was a lot of a knightly respect there. At least
Cool. So he high steps out. Yep, Kim.
Similar note, I did likewise and offered a cask of Nymerian wine. Though if you want to role play out me and the red cider, cool, but only if we have time.
We likely will not, because those two are both decent guys that are not the grudge-bearing types. It wasn't going to turn into a tense standoff, etc., etc. But they're also
Handshakes, congratulations, damn good fight.
So yeah, duly noted on your out of character meta tracking of people's reputations with you. But yeah, we're not gonna. Yeah. So go ahead, Rob.
Vannon, though they may not want you bet anymore. Would you mind managing my bets for me for a percentage of them?
Are you sure they'll be recognized thus?
You're but a bastard. Working on a lawful command from one of your betters, I believe. They should go along with.
I'll see what I might do.
And I'll give you access to 60 of my gold dragons and keep 30% of them before we win.
As you wish.
Partially just so I don't have to bet.
So, arriving opposite Sir Vardis Egan is a man in a white cloak and enameled white and gold chased armor. Atop a white destrier sits Sir Preston Greenfield of the Kingsguard. Smart money is on Sir Preston, though not by very much. Vardis Egan is a knight of no small repute. Sir Preston Greenfield is among the more respectable and well-regarded knights of the Kingsguard at present. There are a few Kingsguard knights that are not held in such high esteem. He is very much kind of an iconic, reliable Kingsguard knight. He's no Barristan Selmy. He is not a remarkable Kingsguard knight, but he is the sort of fellow that the Book of Swords is filled with. He is no Boros Blunt that shames the White Cloak either. Odds would be maybe 60-40 Preston Greenfield type of vibe from your associated knightly knowledge and tourney gossiping and watching them fight and that sort of thing. So not like a huge thing. So let's get that Google Doc updated, get bets in. Illyrio Mopontis, as always, will cheerfully accept any wager, while also cheerfully eating about half the honeyed figs himself. Anytime somebody grabs one, he has one, because, oh, that sounds delightful, and will chomp on one. He tends to punctuate most sentences, popping a honeyed fig into his mouth, that sort of thing. So, bets are in. The tourney commences. The White Cloak charges across the field. The first pass is a spectacular crashing of lances. They shatter, they splinter. Things go flying, as things are wont to do in this sort of thing. Neither man gains a clear advantage. The second pass is much the same. It's a solid match. They're both pegging with their shields just right, or their lances just right on the shields. Solid shots. And the White Cloak of Sir Preston Greenfield flutters in counterpoint to the white and navy blue decorations of Sir Vardis Egan, with the sun, moon, and star on a navy blue field. So it's all very striking, clashing colors of white, blue, white, white, gold. They are the very model of gallant knights. On the third pass, Vardis Egan tumbles from the saddle. His lance also shatters. It's a good hit, but Sir Preston stays in the saddle. Vardis Egan draws his sword. and is swiftly joined afoot by Sir Preston Greenfield, a noted swordsman himself. There is an exchange of about 4 good back and forths. Attacks, parries, counters, riposts, back and forth and back and forth. And then a solid hit rings out like the clamor of a bell. Those blessed bells in King's Landing that are used to announce triumphant news and momentous occasions. And the Kingsguard Knight's helmet tumbles from his head and clatters in the grass, followed a moment later by the white-armored and white-cloaked Knight of the Kingsguard, bleeding from a head wound. So Vardis Egan, the underdog, took it. As happens sometimes, it was not a trouncing. It was a solid backsy-forthsy. Both men are going to look good. Robert, for his part, does not throw his cup of wine at Sir Preston the way he did against Sir Marin Trent, you may recall. There's no mocking and taunting and shaming of his household knight or his sworn bodyguard this time. It's just King Robert roberting it up with good cheer at a fight well struck. He kind of ruefully turns and swats John Aaron with like a backhand. They're both sitting on their big fancy chairs up there. And it almost knocks John Aaron out of his seat. Robert's like, "Ah, you got me!" And it almost knocks John Aaron out of his chair, but he takes it in good humor. The winner was Vardis Egan, Vardis Egan, Egen. With an E instead of an A on the last one. Yeah. So, Vardis Egan has made it to the top 4. Overcoming some redoubtable foes, and in a way, by making it to the top 4, that does help Luke look a little bit better, right? You know, the better somebody does after you lose to him, the better you look, or the less bad you look, at least. So, nice. Vardis Egan is getting on in years, but that does not seem to have slowed him down, and he took out Preston Greenfield, the Kingsguard Knight in his prime. Speaking of knights in their prime, up next, being led onto the field by the armored mountain that is your squire of young Oris Waters, comes the lady Bela Nymarian. Bela, you want to describe your bitchin' armor as you get led out?
Yeah, so I have some brigandine armor, which is like leather armor covered in plates, and has some like chainmail in there as well, and it's a nice base silver color with a lot of like red highlights in through it, with my personal symbol on my chest, and that's there's a spear going up like the middle, and then 2 dragons curling around this spear, kind of looking like a caduceus. And I have my standard helmet, which is really freaking sweet because it has like a ladylike figure and like in the front for the part that like folds down, and the top is like a mane of red feathers, so it kind of like clashes with the bright silver, polished silver of the helmet.
And it also gives a kind of cool, like wild Dornish look compared to some of the less flashy, kind of more practical armor, because that's where good armor comes in. You know, it can look neater. So yes, you in your red and silver stand in stark contrast to your opponent, who is in green and gold. Your opponent is also the second born of their house, and in some ways their house's champion. Your opponent also has a kind of dual note on their personal sigil, their personal seal of arms, as often second born children do. His, however, is 2 golden roses on a green field. Because your opponent, as Erica has known for a few weeks now, is the redoubtable Sir Garland Tyrell. Garland the Gallant. He is overshadowed by his younger brother, Sir Loras Tyrell, the Knight of Flowers, but not by much and not with the sword. So it is a very tough matchup. Sir Garland is the smart money here for even the most loyal Nymerian voters. If it were a war to the death with Sir Garland leading a conventional army into the Red Mountains, smart money would probably be on Bela. But you are fighting a Tyrell in his natural habitat, which is a joust in front of a highborn crowd. So you've got a tough road ahead of you.
I do.
Let's go ahead, Luke.
Sir Vaden,
Yes.
you're of course in charge of the bets, but try not to vote if you're cocked, okay?
It would feel inappropriate for me to bet in this particular circumstance.
That's fair. I give a nod of approval.
Adam, you could probably vote with your cock in this one and do okay. and
I feel like a
and
lot of
that's
people could.
And that's how Ash died.
I've actually I'm hedging my bets this time.
Okay.
I've got no. That was very amusing, very funny. I have carefully constructed my bets so that I either get back what I am, basically minimizing my loss depending on which way it goes.
Which
So, like
is
half cock or
so.
Robert, just the tip.
Betting half cocked.
I have to just step away for a moment because that was good.
So, wagers should be in on the Google Doc. Erica, you are up for an actual Jousty McJousty pan.
Yeah.
So you are going to have to get yourself ready with your passive ride, yada yada yada. Assemble your big fat die pool of animal handling as bonus dice. So you've got fight plus spears plus animal handling, and then you're going to be keeping fight -1 for a charge. So go ahead.
And since I have a single wound, minus an additional one.
Yes. So you're going to be keeping fighting -2.
So 2 dice. Yeah. This is pretty
So,
rough.
yes. Keep in mind, destiny points are a thing.
Right.
Because you're still rolling a big fat handful of dice. You've got decent odds of dropping something solid and maybe...
Just to remind everybody, if they are currently in lead on the Iron Throne, they get a destiny point to issue out to a player. Is that correct?
Yes, whoever has seized the Iron Throne
Oh.
Most recently does have a destiny point.
I'm going to prime it up, so if someone who's watching wants to spend a little bit and get it, that should be doable.
I'm also writing high in the saddle, by the way. That's my stance.
So stick with your high in the saddle. Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. What is your total on your hit roll?
So I am going to use a destiny point here because 2 dice is probably not enough to knock off Sir Garland. And my total comes to 21.
Nice.
The absolute maximum I could do.
Nice job.
Yes. So that does get you 2 degrees of success. So in a moment, he will need to make that roll to stay in the saddle. His armor is going to absorb the base damage. We've already figured that math. Your armor is going to absorb his base damage also.
Okay.
But he had an 18 to hit. So what is your passive ride?
Kevin, I was trying to help you.
13.
Sorry, 13.
Mhm.
So it's going to be 2 successes against 2 successes. So you both need to make a formidable roll. So difficulty 12 to stay on your horse.
Oof. And what's the roll for 1 degree? I'm considering maybe dropping that down.
Sorry, dropping what down?
Using a destiny point to remove a die from his roll.
Oh, okay. Yes, if you spend a destiny point, that would get a loss of a degree of success.
And what is that total I would need?
Then you would need a 9 to stay in the saddle.
Okay, that's what I'm going to do.
All right, so you brace against it in the last second, and that will give you a difficulty 9. But you do have a penalty on this from high in the saddle, so it still could be tricky for you. Sir Garland does not roll fantastically well, but he does handily stay in the saddle.
If I spend a destiny point to remove one of his die, will he fall out?
He will. Nope. He would still stay in the saddle. This one.
Oh shit. All right. Well, I'm going to use a destiny point then to add an extra die to my total, and that'll
Okay.
bring me up to exactly 9.
Okay. Sir Garland will not spend a destiny point to make you fail. Sir
Okay.
Garland has access to destiny points, but as of right now, at least, he feels like he does not need that, or perhaps it would simply be ungallant to go that hard in his first
Damn
pass.
it, Garland!
So, both of you stay in the saddle on the first pass, and the crowd fucking loses their shit because this is Sir Garland the Gallant, and this is a woman, and they're like, "What? Like she did not get one-shotted by him," and that puts you a leg up over several of his other opponents already. So, we get ready for the next pass. Normally, you'd be able to do a take a breather action to get a few health back, but you guys are both fine because you're
Yeah.
wearing good enough armor. So let's get those die pools together. Pick your stance.
I have to do the same thing again.
All right, high on the saddle it is for 1 or 2.
2.
All right. Sir Garland does not roll fantastically well. Damn, that's a lot of 2s. The hell, Sir Garland?
Woo for 2s!
Woo!
All right. What is your total, Erica?
Well, first I have to ask about the stream boss because it has been beaten twice so far, without being assigned to the extra
Okay.
destiny point it's gone to.
It's been assigned.
To me, but Ash
Yeah.
also did
Oh.
much earlier in the stream. To me,
So they both
Okay.
go to Bela?
all right.
All right.
Garland.
No,
got a
no,
few extra.
No, no. Look
Oh,
at Garland.
no. You're giving the destiny point
No.
to Garland?
Okay.
Ash.
I've got 20 dragons riding on this guy.
Ash.
It's
All
fine.
right, I gotta connect my damn card to this thing.
You're a traitor, but also high.
Yeah, but don't you think that ransoming back his stuff is going to be worth more?
So,
Final
Honestly,
call.
I see what you're
Out of
trying
his
to do.
armor with all his clothes and stuff gone or whatever.
Final call. Did it go to Bela or Garland?
Fucking Garland.
Mine went
Alright.
to Bela.
Let's make this
Okay.
interesting.
Win.
So I have a 19 by using a destiny point to keep an extra die.
All right. That will give him a difficulty 12 again. His total is once again an 18. He is not rolling super hot here. So I believe that's going to be 2 degrees against you, barring shenanigans.
then there's like no way I can. Well, not no way, but this is gonna be difficult.
All right, so looking for a 12 to stay in the saddle.
No, it was
Both
impossible.
of you are looking for 12s.
I couldn't. I was actually looking for a 14, keeping 2 dice.
Yeah. So, that will do it on the second pass then. Both lances shatter. You're hitting him as well as he is hitting you. He just has a bit more mass, a bit more practice, specifically at jousting, and a few less bruised ribs, and that sort of thing.
I swear,
So-
those wound that's the big difference here.
Wounds
It really
wounds
is.
are gonna do that. So you go tumbling from the saddle. That's 9 points of damage that bypasses armor, as the wind is blasted from your lungs
Okay.
because you get punched with the planet.
I had to take an injury for that.
And now it is your turn. Do you stand up and challenge him?
So I'm gonna quickly jump to my feet in an acrobatic fashion, and then I'm going to bow to him, and then turn to bow to the king.
All right. All of King's Landing goes, and like you can hear this sharp intake of breath as she, springs to her feet, and then instead of calling for her spear, graciously honors her opponent and the crown. And again, the crowd goes wild. There are roars. You hear belas and you hear garlands in the background. Not quite a tastes great, less filling, back and forth call and response, but definitely the crowd is impressed with both of you. King Robert lifts his cup. He goes, "Aha! Well struck, the both of you. Garland, you've put the girl in good company."
Seven of hell, she wouldn't loses graciously.
Yeah.
And
Have
yeah,
to.
everybody's flipping out. It was a solid match.
Woo!
Everybody got to look good, and then there was still a nice decisive end. So that's about as good as jousting gets for most of the small folk. It's like, yeah, that was good stuff. Nobody looked inept. Nobody looked like a bully. Just good stuff. And with that, House Nymerian is no longer in the grown-up joust.
I now feel mildly bad about my decision. I'm sorry.
In fairness, it's
I got swept up in the frisson.
and in your defense, Sir Garland didn't use a destiny point to do it.
Oh yeah,
So you
no.
were, so it's not like he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna take that bitch's dice away." Like, no, I spent another destiny point. She keeps 0. Get wrecked. Like he didn't.
And to be fair
Yeah.
to Adam, he probably doesn't think of his cock that often. So this is new.
So,
Nice, though.
the bout ends. Bela's not in as bad a shape as she was about this time yesterday.
That's
This
very
was
true.
not a hard-fought tooth and nail bashing each other with rocks we find on the ground and drowning my opponent in a puddle of his own blood level of ferocity that you guys were kind of fighting to in some recent bouts. So the gallantry is on display. You're actually feeling pretty all right as you're led off the field, and you are able to mingle with the family as the next pair of jousters finish their preparations and get ready to be announced. So we'll give the scene to the group for a moment. I would dearly like to finish the last 2 jousts and then do a pee break, just so we can wrap up the grown-up joust for this pass, if that works for everyone. Like,
Sure.
if you've got to go, you've got to go. But I thought it would be cool to wrap up this round. So, while House Nymerian is no longer in the joust, your cousin, Lord Will of House Will, makes his way onto the field. He has a lean courser as his warhorse, and opposite him is Sir Merlin Crakehall. The Crakehalls are big-boned, burly, brawny Westerlander knights. Sir Will stands in stark contrast to that. He has a leaner, quicker horse, and he is a lean, dark, dangerous fellow in much lighter armor than most of the tourney knights are wearing. And once again, you see the gleaming hilt on his hip, the ruby gleaming in it as your cousin prepares. This one's about even odds. Once again, if it was House Crakehall trying to invade, House Will, smart money's on Will. But this is a contest of even combat, one-on-one, starting on horseback. Smart money is actually on House Crakehall on this one. He is not a knight of particular repute, but he did beat Sir Richard Horp last round, who is a knight of particular repute. And Sir Merlin is just a bigger, burlier, brawnier guy. With the Westerlands tends to have a bit more of a reputation for tourney fighting than House Will, which mostly has a reputation for slaughter and ambush.
Now, Raina,
So,
same warning I gave Van.
don't vote with Vanon's cock.
Don't vote with Van. Exactly.
Something like that. I think that's how it went.
Whatever.
Is the Google Doc updated and bets in?
He'll say that as he
I'm
kind
sorry,
of
wait,
nudges her
who is this
jokingly.
now?
Will
This is your
versus Crakehall.
cousin, Lord Will,
Will
of
and
Will,
Crakehall?
versus Sir Merlin Crakehall. Smart money's on Crakehall. Again, kind of a 2-to-1-ish. So it's not like it's a super mega long shot, but smart money's on Crakehall. Doc updated, bets in.
It's too bad he's so closely related. A marriage alliance with you really would be the best option right now.
Cousins aren't out of line
Not a line, but
much
it's
of
more like
anywhere.
a second daughter
But-
kind of thing.
by modern standards. Yes, of course that's gross, but from where you guys are from, it's not unheard of. Anyways, our bet's in. Anybody not got a
Yes.
bet in that is betting? All right then. The horns blare. Robert bellows as loud as the trumpet fanfare. Okay. So, the underdog won on the first pass. I've been handling these with single die rolls here. As they both go in, Sir Crakehall's lance also shatters. Both lances break. But the cheer of the crowd is cut short as Cousin Will's lance shatters and the broken remnants of it slide upwards off Sir Merlin Crakehall's shield and into his visored face.
Oh my god.
Oh, damn.
So he stays in the saddle, so it takes everyone a moment to go, yeah, oh no.
Oh, no.
He
Shit just got
stays
real.
in the saddle and is able to reach up, and he opens his visor and a bloody shard of wood about 4 inches long comes out. It was protruding through the visor, like it didn't go all the way in, but it does come out with some blood on it, and it looks like it just barely missed his eye and kind of went along the side of his face. So he's got a pretty good cut that is bleeding down, and he's got kind of a broad face, broad shoulders, bushy beard that is Westerland's yellow, and like half of it's turning reddish gold instead. And then he beams out this broad grin through his beard, and he goes, "Ah, 7 hells! That does it for my luck this day." And he throws his helmet onto the ground and raises an empty hand to your cousin Will, who had already prepared a new lance and was making ready for a second charge. And your cousin flashes a bright smile and dips his lance to accept his opponent's defeat.
Well, way to go, Will.
Yep. On that one, the dice came up a 1 and another 1. So I'm like, hey, let's remind everybody that critical fumbles and shit can happen sometimes.
Well, on second thought, sister, if you want to bet it on Will, I guess that'd be prudent. Or just visit him more often.
Go up and see him sometime.
Listen to Adam being smug about somebody else's romantic choices.
Yeah, don't let him get off easy. You really ride him hard.
Oh, look.
I'm just enjoying the saucy banter.
Luke Grim takes a big old swig of wine.
This brings us to the final match of this whole round of the joust, as the final 8 turn themselves into the final 4. And a champion of House Fossaway makes his way to the field. Sir Tanton Fossaway, who recently vanquished Sir Vannon Rivers in a very hard-fought battle, has gamely appeared, though he's sitting very stiffly in the saddle, and as his squire helps him with his helmet there at the end, you can actually see he does have 2 bandages still wound around his head from a scalp wound. And sitting opposite him is Bronze-Yon Royce, who didn't have many fucks to give about his joust against Sir Nathan Lugas, and similarly does not seem daunted by the appearance of an apple opposite him now. This one's a really clear favorite on Bronze-Yon Royce. The Fossaways are Reach Knights of no small renown, and this one has performed admirably in this tourney. But we're looking at a pretty heavy favorite for Bronze-Yon. Again, about the 2-to-1 type of action from what you can garner. Because Bronze-Yon is also from the Vale of Erin, tourney knight of some renown, and he's just also a big bad dude that is really good at this. So, smart money looks to be on the unflappable Bronze-Yon Royce, who looms atop a massive destrier in his plain bronze armor studded with runes, and with his big shield, which is a bronze field with like black studs on it, and the occasional runic mark. The blood of the first man is very thick in the veins of House Royce and certain other corners of the Vale. You notice Oris again glaring with brooding intensity, and kind of clutching the barrier leading to the jousters, with his face thick with mixed feelings.
Big bastard energy.
Anybody not got a bet in that wants a bet? 3, 2, 1. The horns blare, and dashing war horses rise to the occasion. In the first pass, both lances shatter, and Sir Tanton Fossaway reels in the saddle, but is barely able to keep his feet in the stirrups. His shield actually falls from his arm, as does his broken lance, as he kind of pinwheels with both arms, but then wrenches himself upright, looking like someone trying to break a horse more than much else. He just barely stays in the saddle. Bronze-Yon leans forward into the moment of impact, riding kind of high in the saddle and using just his mass and his weight to very aggressively hit his opponent. In the second pass, basically the same thing happens. Sir Tanton Fossaway hunkers down low and is bracing for the impact and leans into it just beforehand. And again, clean hits, both lances shatter impressively. And Sir Tanton Fossaway again is almost blasted from the saddle. This time he twists with it instead of his whole body leaning backwards. He twists against the impact and is able to keep his shield and his broken lance. And Bronze Yawn again just kind of leans into the impact, adding weight behind the strike of his lance. On the third pass, as they are galloping towards each other in those heartbeats of pounding hooves and lances being couched and braced, Sir Tanton Fossaway rises in his saddle and is not even touching it. He just braces both feet in his stirrups and like stands and angles his shield down and away. Bronze Yawn Royce adjusts enough to still get a clean hit and shatter his lance, but Bronze Yawn Royce tumbles from the saddle on the third pass.
Mother fragger.
Now, Bronze Yawn Royce is going to continue the matter afoot.
Yeah.
And I am going to start a second roll to see how that goes. But we got a 1 on that, so the improbable happened as a tourney knight adjusted. All right. On foot, the outcome is a bit more predictable. The gallant Reach Knight goes for his sword against an honorable opponent that's also a lord, not just another sir. So he fights him in the classic honorable way, bringing a long sword to a fight. Bronze Yawn Royce fights with his faintly oversized mace, which is otherwise simply unremarkable. It is a straight shaft of wood, polished and notched by enemy swords and helmets, probably with some extra weight on one end. And he just wades in, and Fossaway has little idea how to fight that. He is not accustomed to fighting against wildlings and their cudgels. He's not accustomed to fighting against the brutal efficiency of the mountain tribes in the Vale of Erin. And he is not accustomed to fighting against the sheer mass and brutal force brought to bear by the blunt instrument of Bronze Yawn Royce. So it takes him about 4 swings to damage Fossaway's shield, batter Fossaway's sword out of his hands, and then hit him twice cleanly and just pound him to the ground. And then he lifts his mace and waits, and Sir Tanton casts aside his shield and raises his empty hand in a clear gesture of defeat. So, the underdog succeeded, and the crowd is roaring, "An apple! An apple! A bronze nice to carve an apple!" And that's really. But Sir Tanton Fossaway is getting his credit for, some pretty impressive jousting there. And over on the other, kind of across the tourney viewing area, you see his brother-in-law, Sir Garland, cheering for Tanton and leading a rousing Reach ballad that several of the other gallant Reach knights and lords are joining in and lifting their glasses to their opponent. Bronze Yawn Royce lifts his visor and very stiffly and formally bows, salutes his opponent, bows and salutes the king, and then just kind of trundles off without really noticing the crowd. They don't get his notice, but he's a very stiff and formal guy that has managed to win. So there will be a brief break for light refreshments in game as tourney knights are able to go and work on their armor a bit, and they are prepping for the next round. We're going to transition to the squire's joust, and then it'll be adult and then squire again. But everybody takes a break. First, a new tray of figs comes out, a fresh round of wine, etc., etc., and we're going to take our 10-minute mid-episode break. So, viewers, we'll see you back here in a couple of minutes. Chatter amongst yourselves, and we will return shortly.
You better be here.
All right, everybody, welcome back. All right, everybody, welcome back. Thanks for sticking around during the break. Hope you grabbed some snacks. Lock the Decker had a cool question going in chat, which everybody should answer, as long as it's not going to distract them from role-playing or from keeping up with the roleplay. But what was everybody's favorite joust matches so far? So there's a lot of, hopefully, some fun to be had there. But we have new matches on the horizon. And by on the horizon, I mean, holy shit, right now.
Woo!
Because we are up to the semifinals of the Squire's Joust. As the other knights are taking their time with their squires to batter a few dents out of their armor and choose what horses and figure out what weapons to bring to the next match, the continuation of the Squire's Joust is kind of a mid-joust break that they're going to take here. So, opposite them, on one end of the tourney field, it comes a pair of kettle blacks. The youngest kettle black brother, Osney, has been led out to the field by various of his brothers throughout this time. Sorry. It occurred to me I'm going to need a few more dice. But he is led this time by Sir Osmond, which is the knightly kettle black, that is armed and armored kind of unnecessarily so, since he's not in the joust any longer and has not been for quite some time, thanks to a knight that we all know. But they have kind of been filling in as sworn swords to the royal family a few times. So it's also could just be head games trying to look cool and a little bit more impressive, which isn't hard because they are big dudes and swaggering up in armor, leading your similarly giant brother who's also in armor looks pretty cool. Opposite them, here in the absolute semifinals, however, is an even bigger guy in even bigger armor that's actually fairly similar to their armor because it got bought out from under them because they tried to renege on a purchase. And that is young Oris Waters, Squire to House Nymerian, who is serving as an honorary squire to Oris and leading him and his warhorse out to the field. Because we've been letting different players have fun with that different times.
I did it last time. I'm willing to allow someone else to do it if they wish.
I'll do it.
All right. He is
All right.
led up by Sir Lucaris. His normal assortment of weapons are arrayed on a small shelf, hurriedly in between
Wave
nightly
the crowd
rounds.
and then lead them out.
Oris does not. He hasn't quite gotten there yet. And the last match, he was warned about some castle folk etiquette to not remove his helmet and stuff. So he's just kind of sitting in the saddle, like, oh, what if waving is rude? And, just kind of worrying about the joust itself. But you are able to hype him up quite well.
Luke is just waving, pointing at him, smiling to women, waving to the small, pointing at people in the crowd.
What do we got, Kevin?
I take just one moment as he's on his way to the field to point out, these are honorless bastards. They will fight dirty. Do not let your guard down.
Great advice.
Oris scoffs in a way that makes it clear he was not planning to. in a yeah, they're fucking kettle blacks.
Then I give him a
you know.
friendly slap on the helmet, pump, and all right, go kick their asses.
And the small folk themselves are getting increasingly invested in the squire's joust because they've been watching it for several days now. And the kettle blacks are not terribly well loved by the people that know them best. They're just not terribly, yeah. So
No.
people aren't quite cheering Oris's name or anything, but they're looking forward to this match. And you can hear quite a few murmurs. A lot of the highborn around the rest of the family over in the gambling area with the other, highborn folk. Lots of highborn haven't been paying attention to the squire's joust. Like, if it's their little brother or nephew or something, then sure. But the squire's joust has also been kind of inconveniently scheduled. So now they're going murmur, murmur, murmur. Look at the size of these two. Murmur, murmur, murmur. Because both of these guys are well over 6 feet tall. And it's a rather, they're bigger than many of the knights, that have been on display. And they're like, shit, what have we been missing out on? It's.
I like to introduce Oris to the crowd as the anvil of the road.
Okay.
The what?
They roar like they know, as though that has been his thing all along.
Right.
Yeah, I knew that.
Oh no, literally, your audio cut out in the middle of the second word, so I don't know.
The anvil of the road. He's a wandering squire, and he's massive like an anvil.
I was just going to call him the Ham.
You catch some small folk. I've been betting on him for years. Absolutely, I know, had you?
Yeah. Following the minor league is the way to go. I've seen this guy before. Yeah.
And I very simply pull like a gold dragon and I yell, 2 gold dragons on the anvil of the road.
Small folk aren't going to take you up on it. They kind of gasp.
Wow.
A whole gold dragon. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of money to them.
Oh boy, 1 gold farthing.
So
I'm just trying to excite them and get them going. I'm not betting with them, of course. I don't have gold dragons.
Yeah.
They're
so
Who's with me?
Our bet's in on the document.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
This
This
is
one's
the most
going to
I've
be.
bet on any person
Right?
ever. I'm scared.
Well, Oris can't hold you right now. He's busy.
Oh.
But if you like to bet your gold on him,
All right, give me 1 second as I assemble a couple of honking, big, fat die pools. All right, we roll first as young Osfrid Rush. Oh shit, that's a lot of 6s, homie.
Oh
Okay.
no.
I changed my bet.
He is dropping a 6 as one of his bonus dice. Like, just an unhealthy number of dice came up 6s.
Of course it did.
It's all right. Oris will be fine. Give me 1 second.
I think Ash wants to give his destiny point to Oris from winning the Iron Throne. I think anybody can do. Remind everybody.
Now.
These dice are just all of a sudden coming up very hot. They both are dropping 6s as bonus dice.
Woo!
Right? They just went, hey, how many dice do we keep? Yeah, that many fucking 6s. Let's do this. So, with a 24 against a 24, lances shatter into a bajillion fucking pieces. These are 2 very big dudes that are good on horseback, and neither one of them is worried about the impact, it seems, because they've both won so far just with good, accurate, hard hits in a I bet you can't take this sort of way. And so the both of them go in at aggressive, very focused on a hard hit. And sure enough, both hits are very hard. So that is 3 degrees of success. So Kettle Black needs that to stay in the saddle. All right. And Oris. Okay. They both stay in the saddle. They're both rocked back just by the impact of the collision. But both men just have a ton of mass on their side and time in the saddle. And they roll neatly past one another and line up for a second pass.
Oh.
Right. Slipping a little bit. He actually had to keep a 5 that time, like a peasant. Oh shit! And so did Oris. So they both went from 24s to 23s. They are just landing palpable, solid ass hits as they race full on at one another with nary a concern to defense. And on the second pass, Kettle Black falls from his saddle. He hangs in there with like one foot in the stirrup for a while, but he isn't quite able to make it like all the way to the end of the row as he falls. Oris, for his part, is rocked back in the saddle, but doesn't even lose a stirrup. He stays his multiple points of contact and is good to go. The young Kettle Black wastes no time in launching himself to his feet and looming his nigh 6.5 feet tall. Osney Kettle Black stands and holds a huge gauntleted hand out over his shoulder as he backs towards his brother. And his brother puts a wicked morning star in his hand, a huge broad mace with nasty spikes jutting from it. It is not an elegant weapon. It is not a pretty weapon. This one is not designed to look like an apple or anything. It is designed to look
No cute.
like a club that you murder people with. Oris dismounts neatly and leaves his horse trotting on idle a few steps past you, Sir Lucaris, and he just holds a hand out to you. Which weapon do you give him? Because sometimes PCs make decisions for NPCs.
What does he have available?
He has his hammer, he has his mattock axe, and he has his boar spear. The hammer is a hair less damage than the other two, but has the shattering special quality. The other two are functionally identical as the math falls together.
Yeah, to quote the chat, the big fuck off hammer.
All right then. Chat likes that hammer.
Big fuck off shiny ones.
He once again holds on to his shield. In the
Oris.
past he had not, but he still has his dented shield on, and he pauses for a second and casts just a bit of a glance towards you.
Do you know how you avoid the morning star?
Hit him.
Wake up late. I go kick his ass.
So we get some dad humor to start the fight. Oris wades in. He chokes up on the hammer a bit. It's a two-handed weapon. Like, you've seen him using it around camp. It's a tool as much as a weapon. That's why he has it. But he's using it in one hand again, and keeping the shield handy. The both of them do a little like thunk of brute bludgeon against their shield, and then they wade in, with Oris taking the initiative. That is a solid hit. Combat defense is that.
Smash him.
Okay. And also, Kettle Black starts with a lot of points of damage. So 1, 6, 7.
Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, because the initial fall off the horse is unsoakable. So Osni Kettle Black is starting this fight with a 12-point hit to worry about, because charges are things. So then the first hit with the hammer, do that. He's got that armor rating, damage. All right. So the first opening swing is actually a feint. As once again, Oris shows he's not just got brute strength. He actually twirls the hammer overhand to get Kettle Black to lift his shield. And then Oris wades in and uses his own shield arm to kind of hold the shield at an awkward angle, pinning edge of shield to edge of shield. And then he just starts hammering at the shield and the arm it is strapped to, circling and getting in a few nasty hits. And the shield is damaged. And Kettle Black takes a few seconds to wrench his arm free and to lash out with his wicked Morning Star. 6, 12, 16, 19 is a pretty solid hit. He has a combat defense of that. So 2 degrees of success. All right. Oris is able to catch the return Morningstar swings on his shield. The spikes do dig into the shield and scar it up. But Oris's shield is certainly in much better shape than Kettle Black's. Oris wades in again. And Kettle Black's shield is riven to splinters and a few idle leather straps. And Kettle Black takes that much damage. Okay. So Kettle Black is not doing super hot. He is gonna fight aggressively to try and do something. That is not a great roll. Kettle Black takes up the Morning Star in both hands after his shield falls to pieces off his arm. And he lunges in. But that extra die for attacking aggressively got him a 2. So that is not a great roll. 6,
Worth it.
12 plus 7 is a 19.
Hashtag.
That is... and you get +1 damage for using it in 2 hands. So some hit points get through, but Oris is all right with that. Oris is not going to take an injury just for funsies, as he has done in the past, because he is up next. There's that. Reroll that. And that is 16 points of damage. That's going to be another injury. No, shit. Aggressive attack. Sorry, keeping track of 2 fighters at once is twice as bad. Because he's down to combat defense 2, which makes that a much more palpable goddamn hit. So 3 degrees of success. That's 24 points of damage. That is an injury. So Kettle Black will stop fighting on his action. So it is a quick flurry of attacking shields to seek an advantage. And Oris just does so a little harder than Osni Kettle Black, perhaps with a bit more rage pent up inside him. perhaps with a bit more to prove to newfound people he cares about watching, perhaps just trying to fight hard while he can, because he feels like he's not going to be allowed to fight very soon. But something inside Oris lends tremendous fury and weight and accuracy to his blows. So the shield gets shattered. He is able to carefully, mostly avoid Kettle Black's return strikes with some alarming speed and usage of his armor and its size. And then he just lays a solid hammer hit, basically just like dead center in the middle of Osney Kettle Black's chest. And it knocks him on his ass, just like back a few feet and falling square on his ass in the dirt. And there's a visible dent in the front of his armor from just this kind of, solid kind of overhand punch, but also there's a warhammer in it that just connects just right. And Kettle Black is left gulping for air like a fish out of water. He claws his helmet off, and you can see him, trying to catch his breath.
You got him, Morris.
Fumbling at his armor to get this caved-in breastplate off of him. And in the middle of all that, he's waving like, yield, 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 and just like trying to get the wind back in him.
As he yields, I'm going to rush forward to try to help him with his armor.
It is much appreciated because he is wearing gauntlets and he has taken 2 injuries two wounds and an injury since taking the 12 unblockable damage. So he's in pretty rough shape and his thick gauntlets on and is trying to save himself for the melee anyway. And
Luke gives Oris a look like well done, but then he's going to try to make sure this poor kid doesn't die.
Good thing he's a big, strong man.
So, Oris is the victor. Oris turns and he kind of chokes up on the hammer, so he's got it by like just the hammer head, and he lifts it to salute his opponent. Stops for a second, and his visor turns towards Vannon, just like out the edge of his visor, and he turns and salutes very graciously Sir Osney Kettleblack on the sideline with a bit of a flourish, and then he turns and salutes the crown, all while keeping his helmet on. So it's a little bit of over-polite shade towards House Kettleblack on behalf of his fellow bastard. The king is out of his seat, and like air guitar is a thing. Robert's like air hammering. He's like air hammering up there, like a past his prime baseball player, like showing a swing, and he's up out of his seat, talking excitedly to John Aaron and Sir Barristan Selmy, his Kingsguard knight up there at the royal box, and he's like hammering somebody after they're down. And you can tell he's fallen back on a war story about when someone didn't yield fast enough type of thing. And he's showing this like chopping motion and, does a hand across his throat type of, that sort of thing. Not paying tremendous attention to the Squire joust now that it's over and talking instead about himself.
Because that's what he does.
Thus endeth that round of the Squire's joust.
Hooray!
Which brings us back to the grown-up joust.
Yeah, assuming Kettleblack is
minute
dying,
or
I
two
will
pass.
aid Oris back to
he's he will with that breastplate off, he's able to catch his breath again, It was a combination of getting the wind knocked out of him and then suddenly his armor shrinking in a very unhealthy way and keeping him from catching it. But yeah, he's fine. His brother kind of shoulders you aside, not quite like making contact, but clearly getting between you and his brother type of thing. And he helps his brother to his feet, kind of cursing him as he does so. Can't beat a bastard. Bad enough I lost to a bastard. Now you lose to a bastard? Damn it! And, that sort of thing. As he's
Damn those bastards.
helping his brother off the field. And he's like, Father will have our heads. Grumble, grumble, grumble. You're not dying, are you? Like the fourth or fifth thing he says is like, by the way, are your ribs in your lungs, right? Like it takes him several steps before he gets to that level. But eventually he's helping his brother off the field, and Oris makes his way off the field with you, and all is well in the squire's joust. And then, coming up alongside you as you leave your end of the tourney field, Sir Garland tosses you a sunny salute and a smile with his visor up. I'm afraid I missed it, but I feel it's safe to say well struck is in order. He tosses down cheerfully as he is approaching the tourney field as you're passing, and Oris gives him a nod. His helmet bobs, and he's probably grinning under there because he has his visor on, or his helmet on, and nobody can see him be happy. But yeah, so Garland Tyrell is gallant and cheerful to the lot of you, and he tosses you a jaunty salute, Sir Lucaris. He's like, "Wish
Well
me
done,
luck."
Sir Garland.
And he
You
says,
have it, and you gave my sister quite the run. It was a very exciting match to watch. We'll get you next time, though. But
I'm certain you shall. If Sir Vardis leaves any of me to be gotten. Haha, see you shortly.
we'll see.
And he goes through the motions of being intimidated by his opponent, but is clearly not. So the green and golden spectacle that is Sir Garland the Darlin makes his way to his end of the field. Opposite him comes Sir Vardis Egan, a man probably 20 years his senior, with salt and pepper stubble and salt and pepper hair, and just a grim, serious countenance of, this is a part of my duty. I add to the glory of my house, yada, 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 is a very serious kind of vibe compared to the kind of flippant confidence of Sir Garland. I'm assuming that bets are in on the Google Doc. The favorite is, of course, Sir Garland of House Tyrell, especially because you guys know he has at least one extra destiny point to use should a need arise. He tosses a series of polite salutes with his, the cross guard of his sword is gilded, and the pommel of his sword is a blooming rose. And he's saluting kind of everybody. He salutes the king. He salutes the gaggle of noble women giggling nearby. He salutes the lot of you, making eye contact with Lady Reyna, the senior member of your house. He turns and he tosses salutes to the small folk. He salutes his opponent. He is gracious with his good grace. And like 4 women just got pregnant from that. But he's he's just polite to everybody in good cheer, and
growing
going through
strong.
all the motions. Vardis Egan, for his part, turns and salutes the king, and then salutes his lord, John Aaron, the hand of the king and the man to whom Vardis Egan is sworn.
Before I leave the field, as I see Egan come up to the field, I will give him a nod as well. And a salute. As he was the man who bested me.
Yeah, he does not seem to notice. He's looking pretty focused on Garland. It doesn't seem like him to purposefully snub it, but he is a very focused guy.
He needs to be.
So, bets are in, I'm assuming. and the horns blare, and Destrier's Destry. All right. The first 3 passes are almost like textbook perfection again, as each knight braces for the impact just so, leans into the impact just so, touches their opponent's shield just so, letting the horse do the work, letting the speed do the work, and the lance bring the power. They're all about accuracy and resisting their opponent's strike, and it could almost be. Kevin, you shared the video from some European martial arts guys the other day where it was doing like sword fight into pausing for just a second and showing a shot from a manuscript where they're
Looks
doing
so
the sword
cool.
fighting technique. Like
Yeah.
each pass could almost be that. Like they're doing a clinic on how to joust with aplomb, grace, and technique. Then in the
flash shot.
fourth, in the fourth pass, Sir Vardis struggles to stay in the saddle. In the fifth pass, Sir Garland Tyrell reels in the saddle and actually loses the haft of his lance. But as he straightens and casts a look over his shoulder, Sir Vardis Egan is on the ground.
Yes.
So they were solid hits all around. But on the fifth pass of the tourney, with both of them having shattered their lances in each pass, Vardis Egan is down. Sir Vardis clambers to his feet. He does not lunge or leap or kip up or twirl or spin or breakdance, but gets himself to his
We
feet.
love your breakdancing, Bela.
It is it is a steady kind of process of getting one leg under him, getting his hand on that knee, and then pushing himself up. And then he pants for a few moments, and then his shoulders kind of slump, and he just tosses his shield to the ground and lifts the visor on his helmet. He's like, I'd call for a sword, but I know how it'll end, and both of us need to save ourselves for the glory of the melee, I think. I'll see you on the morrow, Sir Garland. And he says it kind of resignedly, but not quite resentfully, right? He's not, super mega bitter about it. It's just a dude that's like, I've got a chance, but it's not a great chance. And that fall kind of sucked. And I'm 20 years older than him. And I'm also signed up for this shit tomorrow. And just, all right, I went 5 lances. It's okay. So he doesn't seem angry or whatever. Sir Garland salutes him without irony. He says, 5 lances, sir, and all of them well struck. I look forward to our match on the morrow. And then Sir Garland goes back to cheerfully waving to the crowd. He salutes only the king this time, and then it's open-handed beauty pageant waves to basically everyone. So,
Makes
that is-
flowers appear tuxedo mask style.
My work here is done.
that is one finalist
Garland.
locked in. The remaining finalists, we're actually going to go ahead and have them finish their round. Is her cousin, the Will of Will, who high steps his lean and swift courser onto the field to some small folk acclaim. Kingslanders and other Stormlanders and folks from the kind of royal territory around here aren't terribly fond of the Dornish, and anyone that's not terribly fond of the Dornish isn't terribly fond of House Will. But he has a few admirers in the crowd, and they're just excited to see another match. So he acts like the crowd loves him, He draws his sword, makes a big show of saluting the king, and then turning with his Valyrian steel weapon, kind of levels it to call his shot, and then salutes his opponent and sheathes it, because ambling into view opposite him is Bronze-Yon Royce on his monstrous destrier.
Of course.
Final four don't play around, so nothing's left but really dangerous dudes. In this one, the strong favorite is Bronze-Yon Royce. Once again, were it battle to the knife, the will of Will would kill Bronze-Yon's sons and kill Bronze-Yon last by poison and deceit and whatever. But it's a tourney. And he is a wiry, lean, dangerous fighter against a really big dude in really heavy armor. Perhaps the most famous armor in Westeros, actually. This rune-encrusted bronze of the lords of Runestone. Smart money is on Bronze-Yon Royce. As always, Illyrium Opatis will cheerfully take bets. He's like, "Oh, a dangerous man indeed, your cousin," and he'll cheerfully bet on Will against you guys, or vice versa, as is his wont. He passes either way, back and forth. So, our bets in on the Google Doc.
Yeah,
Everybody's bet
hard call,
nine.
but it's done.
So just
Remember,
recap for me just who we've got.
this is your cousin. It's the will of Will against Bronze-Yon Royce.
Okay, I was going to ask, and who's the favorite, but we know.
Yeah, Bronze-Yon. Yep. And remember, you don't have to bet. Like, if you feel bad for betting against family or whatever, you're not obliged to bet. But wagers are in. The crowd intakes a breath, and they charge. Okay. On the first pass, both lances shatter. They're solid and accurate hits. But Bronze-Yon's doesn't quite shatter in the same way. It kind of holds steady for like a tenth of a second, because the will of Will is just hung on the end of the lance for a tick before it breaks. His horse keeps riding. The will of Will does not. He just doesn't have the bulk and the heavy armor and the kind of, I don't want to say the gravitas in the saddle, I think, gets the point across. That's just not the way he rides. And in fact, Bela, you for sure recognize he was high in the saddle trying to score a good hit. He was like, offense is the only way it's probably going to work.
Yeah.
So he
Unreasoning
went,
aggression for the win.
He went for it, but he just got blasted from the saddle by Bronze-Yon Royce. And he is on the ground. He rolls over to hands and knees for a few moments, and you can see him kind of arching his back and gulping for air. And then he lurches to his feet. He's down almost as long as you can be down and still say that you're clambering to your feet quickly enough, right? It's like as long as you can be down there to gather yourself. And then up he comes, and Scorpion leaps into his hand, and that reddish glint of Valyrian steel, and he ponders it for a moment, and then he reverses the blade and kind of dips it into the soil and half bows over it. He says, perhaps Valyrian against bronze. We'll wait for the melee. Well struck, Lord Royce. Well struck. Which is about as begrudging a good cheer as you can picture from him. But yeah, he got hammered pretty good too, because tourney lances have powerful, so they add damage, and that damage ignores armor. and he is also endurance 3, like many of you, and that is a
Just too
palpable
much.
hit. Yeah, it was a hard hit. So he decides that discretion is the better part of Dornish valor, and will wait. So that does it for the adult joust. Few days.
Sister, Raina.
Because just as a reminder of the schedule, tomorrow in game is the melee. The day after that will be the finals, the championship and high point of the tourney, depending on who you ask, as Sir Garland Tyrell crosses lances with Bronzion Royce. So the list is down to 2. And now take it away, Luke. Go ahead.
Sister, Raina, you should go check on Will, see if he's
He is not heading to the Maester's tents or anything like that. He takes the reins of his horse back from some Kingslander boy that he tossed a few coppers to squire for him. And he actually just hops back up on his horse. He does toss you lot a small wave, and then he tosses his head and turns and trots away to brood or plot, perhaps in secret.
It was but a suggestion.
He looks fine. He'll come find us.
We got the
Very well.
wine.
It's true.
I want to hear the story of how he got his sword back.
Next up is a bit of intrigue. Who is going to squire for Oris this bout? Because you and Oris are away finalizing preparations again. Who what?
Adam.
I'm going to recommend Adam.
Adam.
Like, literally seeing his eyes light up, just be like, I think
All right.
Adam should do this.
So Adam will be off helping double check the buckles on Oris's armor and that sort of thing. We might cut to that scene in a moment. So Adam, decide what, if anything, you want to say in your private moment in a locker room tent. To the rest of you, back where you sit, Illyrio Mopatis makes a big show of lifting his glass and toasting a recent arrival that approaches the lot of you in your small group. And it is Robar Royce, the second son of Bronzion Royce, whose arm is still in a sling, and it's still bandaged up. The bandages look cleaner, though. It looks like it stopped bleeding right through them all the time. But he's still got that arm protected and slung. But he approaches the lot of you with a smile that looks a little regretful.
Uh-oh. Well, he's a sir, right?
Yes, he's a sir.
Sir Robar, it's a pleasure to see you.
And you, of course, Lady Raina, Lady Bela, sirs. He nods to both knights at once. And, of course, the Magister. I wonder, is it Lord Mopatis, Sir Mopatis, simply Sir, I hope will do, if we might have a moment alone with House Nymerian. And he goes, of course. No need for a foreigner to listen in on the private dealings of highborn Westerosi folk. I'm off to find something to snack on. I haven't eaten since lunch. And
Oh my god, he's been
cheerfully,
popping things like they're...
he cheerfully ambles away. So, Sir Robar almost winces now that you guys are alone, and he tosses a glance over towards his shoulder and says, I'm afraid I come under unpleasant circumstances, and I feel that it would be best if my brother did not hear of it. I hope I have your discretion. He's talking mostly to Lady Reyna as heir slash nominally head of the house at the moment.
Yeah, I look to her for her, reply.
Well, I would love to honor this, and I will.
I thank you. We find ourselves at a bit of a crossroads, and it seems to me that perhaps your lad, Oris, my my cousin, could profit every bit as much as House Royce. As you may have noticed, my arm is still less than well, and as such, I will be unable to partake in the melee. And he sounds genuinely and openly disappointed, which absolutely makes sense for any knight, but especially a second son. He says, and so my younger brother, Waymar, wishes to join us. He has pledged himself to the Night's Watch soon. This tourney is something of his last hurrah before he rides north to take the Black. He desperately wishes to be knighted by father, perhaps King Robert. But regardless, he wants his spurs before he takes the Black and serves on the wall. If he does not distinguish himself in the squire's joust by winning it, he hopes to distinguish himself in the melee, filling in for me, as this broken wing, alas, leaves me unable to fly. But, and he kind of leans in, you likely know it is Waymar that Oris is up against in the championship of the Squire's Joust. If Oris might see fit to lose to Waymar, Waymar could likely be knighted by father for his triumph in the Squire's Joust, and then we would have an opening in our team in the melee, and perhaps our cousin might join us there. This would be an opportunity for Oris to impress the family, and he would be paid fairly from any ransoms gained or prize that we won. If he could bring himself to lose to Waymar, and to see to it that my brother earned his spurs today instead of needing to earn them tomorrow. And again, several of you have pretty high awareness rolls, and a few of you have empathy. And this is a freebie because he is really fucking bad at deceit. This is not a lie. This is not a like he seems very earnest with everything that he is saying, and you are all pretty confident in that.
I take it I'm not here to be able to do that.
Right. You are off with Oris. You're like, no, your butt armor isn't on. It's tighter. Yeah, so you're off doing that with Oris right now.
Butt armor is nothing.
Yeah.
Fetch the butt cheek stretcher.
Hey, let me check real quick.
So, that is his proposal to you as acting head of the house, and the vibe that all of you get is that A, he is sincere, it's not deception of any sort, and also you all know that it's a, I won't say it is a reasonable request, it is an accurate request, like it makes sense that they would A, want Waymar to distinguish himself, and B, either of these would be fine ways to do it, yada yada yada. So you don't think it's a trap or a trick or anything of that nature, but it is an interesting proposition. Push to talk.
Isn't Oris a cousin to this family via his mother?
Yes. His mother is Bronzion Royce's eldest sister, and when she would not abort him, they banished her to be a silent sister shortly after Oris's birth.
When you say they, was it Bronzion or was it his father?
Bronzion Royce was the head of house at the time.
It's cold.
Sir Robar, you've been nothing but honorable in your dealings with us. and I appreciate that very much. I will ask Oris and present it to him, and we will find out his answer on the field of the Squire's Joust shortly.
Of course, no lord or lady can compel a man to fall on the field of honor. The request alone would be appreciated. Offering him the choice, we can leave it to him. Of course, of course. Again, please don't let Raymar know that I've asked, or my father. I simply would not see my brother sent north without some honor. I appreciate it. Congratulations again to the lot of you for your successes in the tourney. Alas, and he kind of wryly holds up his injured arm. Each of you far surpassed me in the rankings, and all well struck and well deserved. I am sorry to only approach you again under such circumstances. I thank you. Thank you for your time.
Your goal is noble, at least. I'll give him a nod.
So yeah, again, from what you've ever heard about him or from him, it sounds like just a big brother trying to look out for his little brother who's about to take the black. So with that, we will cut to Adam and Oris, double checking Oris's armor and that sort of thing. And whenever you want to, Reyna, you can step in.
What if I just don't?
Well, you did tell Robar that you would ask him.
He
Like,
doesn't
that
need
would
to know
be
she
kind of a
didn't.
Fine.
dick move.
Okay.
You could show up and
So-
then not mention it.
You
Yeah,
could
I'm just
hover
saying,
at
like,
the doorway,
You
waiting for your
should,
moment.
yeah.
I was just
Um,
gonna be like, eh. Fuck him.
So, Oris is standing there. He's checking what armor he can. Again, he moves very easily in the armor. He seems very expert at putting it on. He has likely buckled more armor buckles than you have, because it's a day in, day out thing for Hedge Knight, yada, yada, yada. So, you're alone with Oris in a small tent.
Ah!
And Oris, as you may have noticed, is not likely to initiate the conversation. So the ball is in your court.
Hmm. How are you feeling about this, Oris?
He grunts instead of shrugs because he doesn't want to move too much while the armor's being adjusted. He goes, "I'll win."
Of course you will. All of us believe completely in you. You've got this.
It's a Royce though, so I'm not
What
sure
is
I'll
it?
stop when I win.
You need to, Oris. Like, I know that you're angry about the things you've learned, but the person you're facing, it's nothing to do with him personally. And the last thing you want to do is get caught, acting dishonorably in front of the king. It wouldn't go well for you. It might feel good in the moment, but it wouldn't be worth it.
He lets out that gusty sigh. He's like, "Fine, I don't want to shame your house anyway. I just
It's not.
want to
okay.
hit him."
I know. I know I might not seem like it, but I do understand the feeling of wanting to really hit someone. But it's not about shaming the house. Well, I suppose that's only a little bit of it. You wouldn't be able to be with the house anymore, and we don't want that. I don't want that.
He, I was gonna say the I don't want that flies over his head, but he just kind of misses the obvious connotations there. And he goes, well, that's up to Wooly Will anyway, and he's already going to be cross with me.
Look, don't worry about him, okay? I don't think he necessarily will be cross with you, and even if he is, we can talk him down from it.
He, and his helmet's not on yet, but he actually gives you a little bit of a smile. He just goes, I don't think you've seen Wooly Will cross. This week, I've done everything but sire a bastard that he's ever told me not to do. Wyvern's Rest might fall with his yelling when we get back there.
Well, neither of you have seen how persuasive I can be. So just trust me, okay?
He lets out a half-hearted chuckle.
I'm just
He's like,
gonna...
"Oh, you're gonna protect me."
Oh, is that so funny?
Just do a tap 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 at the wood next to the
He
thing.
reaches up and tousles your hair, and he's like, "Well, I couldn't ask for a better one, I suppose."
Oh.
And then comes the tap 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 on the kind of on the tentpole.
Come in. Right. Well, hang on. Yeah, I guess I'll go and poke my head out.
It's just a, it's not like super locked or anything. You can just come on in.
Oh, hi, Raina.
Hello. I need to speak with Oris.
Eh?
You may stay. It's not a secret between us.
Oh, right. Well, I'm just gonna carry on with these buckles.
Sounds wonderful.
He grabs his helmet and kind of lifts it up. He goes, "Not to worry, my lady. I was putting it on in a second."
Just continue with what you're doing, and I will present the situation to you, and you may think about it while you continue being girded. We've been approached by Robar Royce.
Huh.
And he proposes a bargain with you.
Huh.
In which you would fall to Waymar.
What?
To allow him to receive his spurs before he leaves to go to the wall for his lifetime of service to the Night's Watch. In return, you would participate in the melee as part of the Royce's team.
You notice his gauntleted hands are curved into fists, and you're not sure if he notices it or not. And he just kind of stands there like a statue for a few seconds. And he goes, "They're out to poach me from your melee team in exchange for me losing. My reward for letting him win today would be helping them win tomorrow."
Yeah, fuck that. No way, Raina. No fucking way. Sorry,
At its most basic, yes. I believe Sir Robar believes that he is producing a situation in which you would gain better standing within that portion of your blood family.
Oh, so my mom can open her mouth and speak a word to another human again? No?
No.
That wasn't mentioned? No. You can't take back those sorts of oaths. You can't give her back 17, 18 years taken. You can't. No. And what did they offer you? What's House Nymerian gain from this? Other than losing your squire mid-joust and having no one to back you in the melee.
That would pretty much be it.
Yeah, no way. I mean,
I assume that
at best, they have grossly undervalued Oris. And you know what? Like, if they want one of theirs knighted, like Luke's a knight, he can knight him. We don't. Oris doesn't need to be part of it.
They want
The very
Yes.
cheek of it.
Bronze John to knight him.
Well,
And
tough. They can't have it. Not like this.
I look at Oris like right in the face, okay? If I could get on a step stool, I do. I'm like, I dislike this so much that I debated not even coming here to present it to you. But I respect you to make the right choice. And it's your choice. But in my opinion, fuck them.
He just gives you a grim-eyed nod and puts his helmet on.
Adam looks at Reyna approvingly. Yeah.
That's his fucking helmet.
Yes, you need to leave now.
Yeah, I do.
No, I mean,
I go away.
Reyna, thank you for being honest, though. I'm glad I wasn't there when he was putting that proposal to you.
I as well.
Because then I would have said all those fucks to his face.
It worked out this way. Grace of the gods. Look at Oris. Oh, get him.
His helmeted head nods impassively. All right. Last call for Adam before they head out.
I'm just gonna I'm not. I don't think I'm tall enough to actually hold his head. But
there's little stools and stuff there, so
I'm just
often a
used
knight
to-
will have a seat. Yeah, so you can clamber onto a stool if you want to.
That's just embarrassing, though. I'll just kind of grasp by his elbows and just tell him, just look into his face through the visor, I guess. Oris, you are going to win this. I am so proud of you. Show him how it's done.
Kiss him.
He has his helmet on. Also, what if it goes wrong and then it puts him off his game and I lose 50 gold dragons?
And it's very
Well, I can't argue
All
with
right. He reaches out and gives you a smack on the arm that threatens to knock you off your feet because it's a smack, but also all the weight of the armor and stuff.
that. Arm is the bum of the arm, so
But he gives you like a smack, and
bum
then
of the arm.
so it's like a smack on the arm, and then like a squeeze, and then he turns and heads out and mounts up, and
Fuck
And
you,
then-
Robert.
and then hands the reins down to you.
How little he knows and how much I would have. Okay, so I'll
So,
lead the horse out.
the eldest of Bronzeon Royce's son, Sir Andar Royce, his firstborn and heir to Runestone, is leading Waymar Royce out. He is not all armored up. He's in just his, padded gambeson with like a leather vest on type of thing, but sword at his hip because the Royces are a martial folk. Waymar Royce is in his heavy, sturdy armor. Of course, it is not one of the enchanted suits of bronze armor. It looks fairly newly made, and the steel has already been blackened and painted. But it does have a few spots where like the paint has been like carved off and runes have been like etched in. So it's a pretty striking, black armor with a few bronze runes on it for luck. Not as many as are on Bronze John Royce's armor, but it's got a few on there as the family tradition is upheld. And then young Adam, much less daunting looking than Sir Andar Royce, leads out Oris and his looming courser. Oris has his helmet already on, as per Lady Raina's instructions from the other day, and he is just grim and expressionless behind that visor. His weapons have been arrayed on the shelf, and we are just about ready to go. I'm assuming bets are in. 1 second. All right. Felicia did get her bet in before she went AFK. I just had to holler over my shoulder to check. Everybody else got wagers in. Then let's do this. As is my wont, I'm going to roll a bunch of dice. And then just kind of describe it a little after the fact. So, he's got that. Plus that, plus that. That is a palpable hit. Okay. In the first pass, those of you with a keen eye for tourney fighting, notice that Oris rolled about an 18, and Waymar Royce rolled about a 20. So they're both looking pretty solid. They're both good hits. Waymar Royce seems to be a bit more technically proficient on that first pass. But you guys also know Oris is maybe a little distracted right now. So they're both solid hits. That'll stay in the saddle. And All right, both of them stay in the saddle. Spears are splintered dramatically. The crowd hollers. On the sidelines, Robar Royce is cheering on his baby brother there on his end of the tourney field. His eldest brother is also cheering him on. Bronze Jan Royce is standing impassively with his arms crossed over his broad chest. He is actually up on the royal box. He's been invited up there, and King Robert is chattering at him, and he reaches out like clang onto his armor. And, look at that one! Good hit, yeah. Look at your boy go, and that sort of thing. But Bronze Jan himself is just almost as impassive as if he had a helmet on, just featureless. His craggy features behind his gray beard are just blank and staring impassively. On the second pass, we have a less stellar roll there. And a pretty stellar roll there. On pass 2, Oris looks a bit more solid, and both are very good hits again. But Oris's lance shatters spectacularly, and Waymar struggles but stays in the saddle, and so does Oris. Third passes. They're both shattering lances with solid, accurate hits. It is a difficult back and forth going on. On the third pass, wow, that's an awful goddamn roll. Both lances shatter. Both squires reel in the saddle. But Waymar managed to keep both feet in the stirrups for balance, and Oris doesn't seem to do that. His arms pinwheel, and he kind of hangs half in the saddle. His best goddamn die was a 4 on this handful of dice.
Hey, I have a destiny point. I will give it to Oris, by the way.
Oh, yay!
He does not spend it. Instead, he
Spending
stays
it full!
he stays hanging in the saddle, and then falls from the saddle, fairly close to Adam, and twisting over one shoulder, holding a hand out, immediately back on his feet. Like, even before he stands all the way up, like he's got 1 foot under him and is still climbing back to his feet, and he's just like, anything. And it's just holding a gauntleted hand.
Yeah.
So, Ash, do you want to do stab with a spear, hack with an axe, or smash with a hammer?
Smash with a hammer, obviously, because that's my favorite. But although I do have the question of, like, can Adam actually carry that hammer?
With both hands, Adam can manage Adam can manage any of Oris's weapons with both hands just fine. So, it is not as keenly balanced and handy. But yeah, it's not like King Robert's Warhammer from Valyrian Steel, where the thing's like 35 pounds on the end of a stick, or, this is just a, small sledgehammer that looks like it had been hammered into a spike on one end of it. So it's half sledge, half Warhammer, bigger than your average Warhammer, but it's not like that cartoonish Warhammer dwarven hammer size where it's an anvil on a stick. So, hammer it is. Sir Waymar, young Waymar, he's not a sir yet.
Quite pointedly.
He's going to stick with a sword. He's going to stick with that long blade expertise that he shows in the first badass one-liner of the whole Song of Ice and Fire series. And so, he meets the bastard afoot and has the advantage on him because the winners always get initiative. That is not a terrible opening roll. Oris initially already took. All right. He batters at Oris's armor in a handy combo, but Oris is able to block it either with his shield or with the head of the hammer with the very first strike. One slash of the combo gets through on Oris's armor, but does not seem to bother him. Oris retaliates. Reroll that. That's a good reroll. Who's a good die? You're a good die. With a fucking 23 right out the gate. That is against a 7. Yikes. So that's 4 degrees of success on Oris's opening goddamn attack. Let's Destiny point that to make it 3 degrees of success, as Waymar wants desperately to impress his father. Still, 3 degrees of success is 24 points of damage. His shield gets knocked about in half. That said, the Royces are made of sturdy stuff. And this lad is about maybe a year, maybe 2 younger than Oris. But he's still pretty big for his age. Varsity football type of build. But it looks like the first exchange goes Oris's way. Second flurry. Oh, shit, that's a lot of 6s. So that is a fucking 27 from Waymar Royce. Zounds. Oris is combat defense that. 10, so that's a 17. So 4 degrees of success. That is 20 points of damage. 8 will get past armor. All right. Oris has taken an injury. That is Royce's first mistake. Because now Oris gets to attack twice. Once for Berserker, once for his actual action. Both are at a -1. But that's 10, 18, okay. 2 degrees. That is 20 -1. So 2 hits, both for 2 degrees of success. The shield falls in splinters. And that is 2 injuries to 1 injury. Favor Oris. With the shield broken, Waymar will stumble backwards and hold up a hand as he backpedals to his elder brother and heir to Runestone, and retrieves from him a greatsword now that he no longer has a shield in play. So, long blades for a bit more base damage here. Yikes, that is a 24. So 17, 28. 28 minus 12, sorry, is 16. It will be another 2 injuries to make that a much smaller number. And then, holy shit. Oris comes back at him with, fuck me, 66664. For his berserker attack. And then his regular attack, because he is up next, is 66652. That is gonna be a fucking wound and then another wound. The kid's gonna stay in for 1 more. That is when someone should quit. As has been the case with several of you, often an opponent is gonna stick around after they should quit. He is gonna stick around for 1 good swing. He is going to do an aggressive attack. He is gonna keep an extra die to try and knock some sense into Oris, which is not a good idea. That's a fucking 29. That's gonna be math. Greatsword damage. That is 2 more injuries on Oris. So he is out of injuries and gets a berserker strike for, fuck me, that's a lot of 6s and 5s again. 66652 coming up on 5 dice. That's going to be a 3rd injury, and then it is Oris's action, and he will take aim for a bonus die, and then he will do that. Take an aim for a bonus die on a fighting test. There's that. Reroll that for Blood of the Andals. There's that. He's going to spend a destiny point to keep that extra die. 10, 20, 22 against combat defense. 2 right now. Dropping the 5, 17. So 2, 7, 12, 17. That is a 4 degree of success hit with a gauntlet, which is less damage than a hammer, but that will knock the boy out. Waymar starts to go, yeah, foo! And he eats gauntlet to the face, and a tooth goes flying, and he is sent tumbling to the ground, as Oris winds up with the hammer and then lets the
Shit.
hammer fall behind him and just tosses a monstrous overhand right into Waymar Royce's face to finish him off without finishing him off with the hammer, which
Yeah, I was
would have
going to
been
say, like,
pretty grotesque
Adam,
damage.
yeah, Adam would have been watching very close, like make sure he could step in if it looked like Oris was going to go too far.
Just keep going. Nah, he's all right. He's
all right.
He wasn't gonna kill the kid. So, that will do for that. Yeah, Waymar Royce is down and lying still. And you guys did see one tooth go arcing through the air. Oris kind of looms over him, having cast aside his shield also. So he's got both gauntleted fists balled up at his side, like waiting for Waymar to get back up. And Waymar does not. So Oris just kind of stands there for a few seconds, breathing heavy, chest heaving, shoulders rising and falling. And then he lets the adrenaline dump, and turns and picks up his hammer, uses it to quickly salute, rather sloppily, towards the king, and maybe also his uncle Bronzion Royce, who is next to the king, and then he stalks off the field.
Okay.
Bronzion Royce does not respond at all. Robert is going, ho, 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 7 hells, nearly took his bleeding head off.
Right.
Watch that Royce roll.
Is anyone actually going onto the field to check he's okay?
Yeah, he groans and shifts a little after several seconds.
Okay.
But yes, his brother, that was squiring for him, does go and check on him, and it's just a matter of moments before he's groggily being helped to his teeth, and a like a handkerchief type of thing is up in his mouth to catch some of the blood, and he's staggering. He's looking pretty punch drunk, but yeah, he is cinematically KO'd and brought back, not down and seizing or anything like that.
Okay, Adam will have scuttled after Oris.
Which is fair. Adam, you have a bit higher status and all that. You know that Oris should not be leaving right now, because that was the championship of a joust.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go and try and grab him then. Try and bring him back.
He stops when you grab him. What?
Sorry, you're not supposed to leave just yet. You've.
What? He wants another go?
No,
or
no.
Maybe his brother does, or maybe their fucking dad.
No.
And it all sounds a little bit tinny and inhuman from the helmet, but there's.
Yeah, no. There's just the formality of you need to stand to be addressed as the champion. That's all. It's all right. It's you don't. The fight's finished. It's just a thing. Sorry, I think I'm not getting the wording properly. But Adam will get the wording properly, and
it's fine.
And
goes,
yeah, I'd like to use like persuade to kind of try and pacify him.
That role is not necessary in this instance.
Okay.
It is Adam. He soothes the savage Oris. So you're not having to argue to him to do it. He just kind of forgot because he hasn't done it before.
It's okay. We'll go back in a minute.
And he actually.
For now, we just need to do this thing, but I'll be right with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this is, you guys are like 30 feet off the field. You know, like he didn't get on his horse and like run for it or anything.
Yeah.
But he reaches, he kind of leans down your way, and he goes, and you can actually see through the kind of asymmetrical visor slits. He's looking at you pretty wide-eyed, and he goes, "Shit, do I have to do that Queen of Love and Beauty bollocks?"
No, that's just the main joust.
Okay, and like you see his shoulders slump as his rage was
Relief.
replaced by social terror for a moment, and he goes, "All right."
No, it's fine. It's fine. They just need.
Okay.
They just need to basically formally declare you champion. You give them a bow. It's not a big deal, and then we can be out of here. All right.
He heads back with you. And it looks like the moment of panicked terror about having to interact with highborn women shocked his system enough.
I know
so
the
he is
feeling.
led back
I know
just
that.
fine.
You
And
missed
Robert-
that. You could have been like, or men, whatever.
Yeah, you're like, well, yeah, I mean, there's just a betting ceremony after the squire's joust, of course. Yeah,
Oh,
no,
Adam would not
so,
be that
yeah.
cruel.
King
yeah,
Robert is
do
on
I-
his feet up at the royal box, kind of clapping Bronze Yawn on the shoulder. He's like, the boy made it to the finals and well struck. Look at the size of the other lad. He did fine. And still, you're losing him to the wall either way, but I bet he's the best fucking jouster they'll have up there, eh? Come on, chin up, Yawn. It's not all that. And, you know, he's just kind of hanging with one of his drinking and hunting buddies. And then he goes, "Oh, the champion returns. What's the matter, bastard? Lost your way?"
Oh, forgive us, Your Grace. Oris is this is his first joust. He was not aware of the custom of declaring the champion.
Boy serves some heads night, don't he?
That is correct, Your Grace.
Robert kind of laughs and pats his own stomach. Ha! Not used to seeing the champions then. That's fine, it's fine. Just kneel a moment, boy. Well struck, well done. You clearly fucking won. that rhymed. Write it down, Pycelle. Fuck, that's the new thing. Anyways, well done, boy. You're champion. We'll get you your horse and your money and all that later on. And make sure you come to the feast in a few days. The formal ending feast is open to any champion, even if like a lowborn had won the archery contest or riding contest, like they'd still get to come. So he goes, "So, see you at the feast in a few days, lad, and you eat your fill and bring some to take back to your heads night." Has Adam got his hand up? Because that would also be adorable.
No.
Okay. So go ahead, though. Yeah.
I, the player, just as we're kind of like giving our kind of thank you, as Oris is kind of giving his thank you bow for that, I want to be looking directly at Bronze Yawn Royce in a way that is not in any way impolite, and to the casual observer would just seem like a smile of benign pride, but just the subtle hint in Adam's eyes of, "No, you don't get this one. This one's ours."
He's the middle finger.
Bronze Yawn Royce does not seem to be feeling anything right now. His feature is just like a statue. He's got these craggy, wind-burned face that looks as hard as his armor, and he's still just standing there with his arms crossed. Occasionally, you can see his mouth moving as he responds to some of Robert's kind of good-natured, jabs. But he's not like ruefully grinning about it. He's not storming off. He's not much of anything.
Yeah, that's
you
that's fine.
just- Yeah.
Yeah, that's okay. It's not for him. It's purely for Adam's own satisfaction.
Right. It is
Right.
absolutely fair. So that leaves us just a few minutes. And so we're largely going to call it here. We once again managed to not get to Lady Olena. So maybe we'll see Oz in here in a few weeks because we know how he likes to not miss out on Lady Olena. But guaranteed 2 weeks from now, viewers, we are going to kick right the fuck off with feast preparation. As the party will be assembling in the House Tyrell Manse here in town, the villa that they keep here in King's Landing, where the Queen of Thorns, Lady Olena Tyrell, will be recapping the week that House Nymerian has had and making sure that all of them look presentable to enter the Red Keep alongside her for a feast. We have a 10-course meal ready, planned out, raring to go in excruciatingly descriptive detail to torture players and viewers alike with. I have a list of 30 NPCs, every one of which you guys have at least run into in passing. And chat, when you come back here in 2 weeks, you're going to help me determine which of those 30 NPCs are actively doing stuff that the players will be responding to and in what order. So there's a few interactions that are scripted. There's a ton of interactions that the players are going to get to do with these NPCs on their own. But every single NPC, including the Royals and the Kingsguard Knights present, is listed and numbered, and you, chat, will be helping me determine which of them is going to be kind of prompting small cutscenes and potential interactions and stuff. So this feast should be a pretty good time. It's going to be a ton of food, ton of NPC interactions, and you're going to meet exactly one NPC that you have not met yet. Only one that one of the players has met before but does not remember. Dun-dun-dun-dun! Cliffhanger. We'll see y'all in 2 weeks.
And would you say anybody who misses it is a fool of the highest caliber?
Oh, definitely.
I would say that they deserve to take the black in shame for missing this upcoming
Shame.
feast.
Shame.
Yeah, it's not just betting now. Now it's fucking drama.
So, we will see everybody back here in 2 weeks for a very, very fancy feast.